Nerd shit. Nerd shit. Nerd shit in the dark. Welcome, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Glad to have you on a very special edition of Nerd Shit
In the dark.
in the dark, because it is the finally
The time.
to watch our Star Wars special Nerd Shit in the Dark podcast that Braden and I have been talking about
For a while.
for a very long time. And it's a special episode for multiple reasons. Braden, do you know why?
Why, Chase?
Well, I'll tell you why. One, it's all Star Wars talk. And two, we have a special guest here.
A special guest
A special
here, people.
guest here on the show. The second time in Nerd Shit in the Dark history where we've had a special guest.
Yep.
And Braden,
On a special episode.
on a special episode. And would you like to introduce?
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Caton, I don't know your last name.
It's Wiesner. I knew you'd screw up, and that's why I told you to do it. You suck. The embarrassment.
Put it right on him. So that's my introduction. My introduction is Chase verbally abusing his co-pilot.
Co-pilot. That's kind of fun.
That's kind of cool.
My wingman.
Yep. Looking
Yeah.
out for you on your wings.
So, Caton, I would say, is a,
Spent some time.
he's got a doctorate.
Spent some time in the Jedi archives.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
learning,
Star Wars.
reading deep. Yeah,
And,
it's been. I've ingested some objects of Star Wars history.
He's probably the person here that has the most Star Wars knowledge, so...
Well,
we
I hope,
really-
and I mean, I don't know anymore. It's been a while, and there's been a lot of new stuff that I know you guys have followed up on way more than I have.
Probably I'd say we probably know the newer stuff better,
Yeah.
but I think the older stuff is the stuff that's no longer canon.
Right.
It's still just
The
as important.
legends,
Yeah.
and how we got
And
here.
you kind of
Yeah.
have that. And Braden, you dove into that a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't picked up on it since like the 8th grade. You know, it's been a long time, so I don't really remember a lot of it. But I think it'll give us some
Yeah.
opportunity to
I don't know if you knew this or if anyone else knew this, but I knew
something like you. know.
that the original title for A New Hope
Oh God.
was Blue Harvest.
Oh wow.
Bet you didn't know that.
I did know that. Thanks.
I think the cats knew that one, boss.
So it's a good thing we have Caton Wiesner here, Brady.
The Wheeze.
Wiesner is what he's called, what he's known as.
The Weasel.
You would have known that if you would have known him longer. to
Read the
actually
cue
introduce
cards,
him.
you know.
But
People call me Sex Appeal Neil.
Oh my god!
who calls you that?
Everyone.
No,
To be fair,
High
that's
school.
how you introduced him to me. So
this is sex appeal deal.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone in high school did.
That's crazy. In high school.
Yeah.
High school you.
Yep, high school
I'd
me.
love to see that guy. That's fun.
He was cool. He was a cool guy.
man named Neil, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Let's just start there.
Yep.
Yeah, Braden has 2 first names. Braden Neal. Now we can know everybody's full names. Braden Neal. It was funny, on the last episode we had Jared on, and he didn't know Jared's last name either.
I didn't know Jared's
He's known
last
Jared
name.
for years.
Yep, I still don't know it.
It's Lipsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
Lipsy.
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 Yeah, I didn't remember that at all.
Fair enough. So, but yeah, it's great. It's great. We've been really trying to set this episode up for
I've been talking about it for a
long
hot
time.
minute. Yeah.
Braden and I, well, actually, it's crazy. Like, if you listen to our one episode from March 2021, that's now on Spotify, listeners.
Yep.
We
Hot
discussed
commodity,
in
get
that
it.
episode that we should do a Star Wars episode. So technically, we have been planning to do a Star Wars episode for over
Almost
2
2 years. Yeah.
And like, I wanted to have you on the show for it almost that whole time too. So finally, recently,
That's awesome.
we were able
That's
to
wild.
get the word out and get it going, and it's just cool to finally be here
Yeah,
doing
man.
it.
Excited to be here. Excited to talk some Star Wars shop.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. But before we get into Star Wars, I was debating whether or not we'd do this on today's episode, but I thought we should, just because it's a good way to break the ice and talk about a little something else. for anybody else that's listening that maybe just doesn't want to listen to Star Wars for 2 hours.
Give them something to,
So-
wet the whistle
to chew
between
on.
episodes before, you might only give them nothing else from here on out.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, we used to have an entire anime section that we completely cut out because it was not
Getting the reviews.
No,
It was, yeah, and that's
it
what
was just us talking.
How much? I mean, of an episode, was it 50% of an episode?
yeah.
Oh yeah, it would be like
That's a
another
lot of
hour.
anime
It was
talk.
like another hour and a half of just that. So,
I understand.
We had to cut that. But we have a segment on the show called New Nerd Shit, and I think you said you've listened to one.
I've listened to at least 1.5, if not 2, full episodes.
Yeah, you're experienced.
I may be 1 out of 24 views, on spot.
So New Nerd Shit is essentially where Braden and I discuss something that's not new to the nerd world, but new to us within it. So something that we're doing that's new. It could be something new, but it's just something that's new to us. So I usually let Braden take start on that one, but do you have anything in mind, since you're our special guest, that maybe you would want to start?
I mean, I think the only new nerd shit in my life would be the one in many lives, would be Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's a good one to start with.
I think it could be a heavy topic, but there is a lot going around. I mean, they've already started beating it in speed runs, so I figured we're probably fair to talk about
I
it.
think we're fair to say.
I mean, neither of us story-wise have gotten
No,
super
I think
duper
we're actually
far.
both locked at the same place,
think
having
we are.
completed the first of 4 or 5 major challenges.
You're right.
Very Breath of the Wild-esque.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's going.
How would you compare it to Breath of the Wild?
Well, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, and it was just kind of the idea that, like, if you were recommending somebody to get into the series right now, would you require somebody to play the first one before you allow them to play this one? Out of just general guidance, like, man, you'll miss so much if you don't play number 1. And I think the argument is, and I think it would be the same way I'd answer the question, is they're pretty close. I mean, there's a lot of similarities. You may miss some of the backstory, but, like, they play almost the same, and
You can almost think it's the same
you
game,
can really
honestly,
squint and actually feel like you're the
but
same.
it is different.
It's
There
the
are
fundamental
certain
mechanics have taken an insane swing.
Really?
Completely different direction. They're moved into more of this creativity sandbox, choose your own adventure with items and paths and weapons.
Which we were talking before you even got here about. I kind of like the fusing of the items and fusing of the weapons.
They put a lot into this idea that you can be creative and make your own game, but it's kind of giving you the ability to make Legos where there are no Legos actually necessary.
Yeah.
So you find reason to, I don't know, use the mechanics. Now, they also institute the mechanics in one-off puzzles, which are fun, because in that case, they'll be like, here's a puzzle, you need to create a solution. Then you have a reason to use these tools. But just in the normal overworld, I think it's a lot. It's a lot of creativity.
Which it can't, like, I almost don't use it as much. Like, I still
That's the way I
Breath of the
describe it.
Wild.
I end up playing more like it's Breath of the Wild anyway.
Yeah.
I'm playing with basic weapons, basic move sets.
Well, like, if I see, like, a hot air balloon piece, and you can attach hot air, like, to, like, wood, and then you can light a fire to make the hot, like, I'll usually, like, fly an air balloon. Like, there's cool...
There are cool mechanics.
It's
I'm not
cool.
arguing that there are not cool
Whether
mechanics.
I use them
They
or not.
just created a solution to a problem that they also created the problem for.
Yeah.
They introduced something that they made you want to use on their behalf, and
It's something that I think, like, once you beat the game, you can just go back and let loose with all these crazy...
well, it's almost like a Minecraft type idea where it's like you have
It's
a
like
survival
Fortnite-ish.
mode. You have a survival mode, but then you also have a creative mode. You can do whatever you want in creative mode, but there's a goal in survival mode.
It's all kind of connected.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed Breath of the Wild.
Right, I was going to see
So
if
if
you
I enjoy Breath
played
of the
it.
Wild, would you say I would enjoy
I'm
it?
loving playing. I
This-
mean, I
yeah,
think we're both having
100%.
a really good
Not-
time playing it.
Not only that, the small quality of life improvements that they put into this game over Breath of the Wild, the ability to pick up, open a chest, having all of your attack items full, and not have to
Yeah.
close the chest, go back, drop a weapon that you
yeah.
want, go back in. No, right from the menu, they give you the ability to drop something you don't
And
want
you
to
can-
have.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
just
It's very
small
nice. Little
quality
things
of
like
life
that.
things are incredible.
Cut out the
Yep,
little
yep.
annoying
And you can
things.
you can sort the way your items are, like, stacked now too, so
Yep.
it, like, puts it in a better, like, most used order. Because, like, there's this function now that, like, if you use an arrow, you can hit up on the D-pad and, like, fuse something to that arrow, like an eyeball that makes it track, or like a fire plant that makes
The
a
gems,
fire arrow.
the gems now have physical attack properties, like
Yeah.
rubies and sapphires
that's
actually
new.
do things. They
Yeah.
have elements.
They're not
so
just
you,
currency.
So you
Right.
put a ruby on an arrow and shoot it, and you now have a flame arrow. Or
Wow.
like, yeah, so like there's
And
That's
there's a lot.
interesting.
It's,
I
it's,
think
it's that
I'd be
same
interested in
concept with Breath of the Wild, where it was like, hey, there's a tree. If I cut it, will I cut a tree down and it'll make? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
everything has
they-
ramifications.
They've,
like
they've ramped it up to like, oh, anything you can think is still what you can probably do.
Yeah.
it's
and,
it's a good way to describe it.
it's
You're very capable.
Just better.
Yeah. I don't know if the mechanics are my favorite. I think the mechanics in Breath of the Wild, like I said, I miss Rivali's Gale daily when I play that game. The ability to shoot myself up in the air.
That's one of my most used moves.
Right.
Since I
They
got.
give you a new one in this one that shoots you like
Straight
straight,
forward.
and it's like it's convenient in the level that you use that for, but like you'd rather shoot up any day. I
Yeah.
don't know if we get farther, we'll get something like that.
I don't know.
It is a. I like that little. So like now the little character like a fucking ghost form of them follows you around to like help out.
Your little
so,
champion helps you out. Yeah.
He like has arrows too, so he'll shoot fucking bad guys with a bow and arrow too sometimes for you, and then so
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
pretty neat.
That's cool.
It's
I like
yeah.
little helpers.
Yeah, and like I think the more temples we do, the more because I saw somebody playing it real quick online, and he had like 3 little guys following.
So you're able to keep them out. That's interesting because
Yeah,
that
he
was going to
follows
be
me
one of the.
around everywhere.
That was no, like multiple of them. Because from what
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought was happening was that you were only allowed to have
Switching.
one activated at
I
a
saw
time.
a video. A guy had 3.
Alright.
See,
And I
that's
didn't even,
just-
that was before I got 1. I was like, what the fuck are those things?
That's the benefit
Now
of
I
not
know.
him having to play so much. Then like I still have so much to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I probably have like 10 or 11 hours on this game, and I just finished the first temple today because it's just there's so much to do and go. Like the map is now changed because there's this upheaval that happens. I'm sure you've maybe seen any of the trailers. Like so now you have an entire normal Hyrule map from the last game that has changed, but there's also the Sky Islands. So there's a second map.
Oh.
And there's an
The X and Y,
underground,
the
too.
X and Y axis generally the same. The Z axis crazy different.
Yeah, I haven't even gone down to the.
I did. I went down once and it was so dark
That's
down
the
there. I'm like,
hardest one.
I'm out. I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
So is it continuing the storyline from Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, it's like a
Yes.
couple of years later. I think.
yes.
Yeah, because some characters are like growing up more.
They've even given you
age.
reasons, like they tried to actually provide funny backstory on why you only have 3 hearts again to start, like every Zelda
Yeah,
game.
because you start the game with
Like
like a
you
full
start the
tank.
game like you would have at the end of Breath of the Wild, where
Right.
you're jacked, 2 full stamina
Yeah.
wheels, all 17 hearts,
Yeah,
and then
boy.
they give you a reason to lose it all, which is clever. I like the continuity.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. I mean, both Breath of the Wild, I was just telling Brent this. It's not my favorite Zelda game, but it's probably the best one, Breath of the Wild. And I think Tears
Breath of the
Kingdom
Wild, yes, I agree.
the more I gotta play it more, but I mean, it definitely has potential to be even better.
I think that the mechanic swap will not allow it to beat that one for me, but it will be close.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, even just for the quality of life improvements, it's a better game.
Yeah.
But Breath of the Wild, man, it will definitely be one of the subjective ones that I rate, but just like the time in which I played it and how much fun it was to play. Now, that's one of the things that Tears of the Kingdom loses a little bit for me, because it is a lot of the
It's
same.
almost the same game, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think we could always have that argument of like which one's better, but I think that for me, it will always be Breath of the Wild.
And I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that agree with you. And I probably do.
Well,
too.
I think
I
one of the-
gotta finish it to make a full, like, how do I feel about
Full
this
synopsis.
game. But just from what I've played, I heard, and I've heard, like, so many stories. Like, I love, like, the online community around this game now, because, like, there's these Kurok seeds that you always gotta help get to their friends. Like,
Yeah.
they're across, I'm sure you've seen it, or some strap a fucking rocket, shoot them across, and things like that. Or it's just, like, anything you could imagine. You're just like, yeah, just go. Things like that are funny. Nas told me, do you know those hands, have you encountered those, like, dark hands that come out of the ground?
Yes.
Have you ever
the
beaten
blight.
them?
No, I don't even know how.
I haven't either. Nos texted me the other day, and he was like, have you fought those? I was like, no, I couldn't even. He was
I
like,
ran.
I beat them, and then it turned into Phantom Ganon, and then fucking killed me, and I was like, what? Yeah, so don't kill those things.
I
or
found
they'll
one in a
get
cave.
stronger.
I'm sure you might have found the same one in a
I
cave.
think so, yeah. I was like stuck in it.
And I like looked at it and I was just like, well, I'm going to fight this thing because, I'm Link, champion of time.
Yeah.
Here we go.
He kicks
And then
your
all
ass.
17 of those hands gave me a spanking and it was over.
Yeah, I tried to like go at a distance and shoot bomb arrows out.
The arrow didn't even make the health bar move. It was like 1 of a million.
Yeah, a lot of fun side quests. But I mean, overall, you should get it. If you really like Breath of the Wild, I wasn't sure if you had. I was gonna message you. And
I liked Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna ask if you got Tears of the Kingdom. I knew you played Breath of the Wild.
I think I read something pretty simple where it was just the idea of like, if you liked Breath of the Wild, you will like Tears of the Kingdom. If you didn't like Breath of the Wild, you won't like Tears. It's that easy.
It's the same
It
game,
literally, it's that easy.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't realize how polarizing even Breath of the Wild was on time of release, because apparently it was so anti formulaic Zelda games that people.
I'm just kidding.
Nope, stop that.
I'm just
no, it was just more that it was so non-linear Zelda with challenging dungeons and things like that people were like, "This is Skyrim."
Well, yeah, Brent just texted me, or we were talking when I told him the news. He was like, "I didn't like it, but I like the open world in Pokemon, so I'm going to give Breath of the Wild another chance." And I was like, if you like Scarlet and Violet's open world, then you're gonna fucking love Breath of the Wild. It's like, but it's a big game. I could see
it's Skyrim light in certain ways, where it's just
just a lot of walking.
Yeah, I mean, it's a walking.
I did miss the dungeons. I missed the temple. I am one of those people that was like, the Divine Beast didn't really do anything for me. So when I heard temples were back, I was pretty stoked. Though I went to the Wind Temple, and it was essentially just a Divine Beast.
The mechanics to get to the Wind Temple, I had a lot of fun with. I thought it was clever.
Yeah.
But once you got into it, you're like, yeah, this is Divine Beast Part 2.
Yeah.
I would agree that probably the weakest part for Breath of the Wild for me were the Divine Beast puzzles. They're easy, and it wasn't super interesting. It was interesting.
They were all the same looking.
Get to some of them.
Yeah.
But they were all pretty much the same once you got inside. And it just wasn't the part of the game that
I definitely agree with the criticism. Whether or not I feel that way is one thing, but I agree when people go, "This is not traditional." I get it.
I just like a temple that's they all think of old Zelda games. Every temple is its own aesthetic.
Yeah, it's
whereas the Divine Beasts all look the same. And I've only been in one temple in this game, so I don't know because honestly,
they're all airships.
The airship essentially kind of looked like a Divine
Beast.
Oh no,
it was straight up.
Like,
I mean, even the mechanisms were.
Please let the rest not be that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we can combine our new nerd shit, because that's also what I'm doing, is playing that. So, yeah. So Tears of the Kingdom. Shout out to Nintendo if they want to give us any money for
promoting
giving this game a bump that it probably needs.
Yeah.
You haven't got it yet, so there's $60-$70 right there. So
the Nintendo, dark bump.
The dark bump. Gross. What do you got, Braden? What's your new nerd shit?
So I've been playing a game that has been out for a while, but I never got to play it because it was a PS5 game. But I got it on my PC. It's Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, okay.
You ever played it?
I've never played it, but I know a lot about it.
I've never played it.
Very fun.
I thought you had.
Not. I have it on my list to play.
Yeah.
But then again,
same.
That and 400 other games.
Do you know the general premise?
Yes.
Yeah, it's there was an AI apocalypse of humanity on Earth.
Close to home, kids.
Yeah.
And there was a writer's strike.
And there was Yep.
Depending how long whoever's listening to this is listening to it, be nice to your AIs. They're listening.
Yep, they are.
We respect them. Anyway.
Already smarter than us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's an AI apocalypse on Earth, and humanity is essentially sent back to tribal era days, except there are still AI machines around that will attack people.
Little monsters.
But humans adapt to it and create these warrior cultures essentially based around hunting machines. And they use the machine parts to enhance their armor and their gear and stuff. So they're primitive, the person Aloy is the main character. She's from a tribe that's kind of barbarians. They are very isolationist and don't talk to a lot of people, but you eventually go out into the world. But they there's a bunch of different tribes that all have different religions or based around technology.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't really know the nitty gritty of the story.
I know the story of the apocalypse.
Yeah,
apocalypse.
Not any of this.
Taking over the world. I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
This is Zero Dawn. That's the first one.
This is the first one.
Okay, yeah.
I started playing it because I heard that the second one was coming out, and I was
think it is out.
Oh, I bet there's a PC version of it now.
I don't know if there is yet, to be honest.
Yeah.
Get PS5, pussy.
But
no,
Yeah,
Unless
so
Sony
it's
also wants to pay you.
the animals themselves. It's it reminds me of Assassin's Creed in a way, like the certain mechanics, because you have to like hide in bushes and there's a stealth component. You can like stealth your way through things, but it's a hunting game essentially.
Well, like I remember seeing trailers for it, and I remember thinking it kind of looked like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But, you know, not on a Switch, on a PlayStation.
That's another thing. The world is like super beautiful now because the part of the machine's programming was to like get rid of pollution and all of that stuff. So like the natural world has grown back.
Yeah.
And we're like hunter gatherers again. Now there are other tribes that are like stronger. They have like cities and stuff, but it's still pretty low end. And it's funny because like they all have American accents. They all, like, you can tell.
Well, the
like,
main character, she's ginger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she one of those things.
Yeah.
That's the noise gingers make. We established that on a different episode. Sorry if there's any shitters out there that are ginger.
Yeah, no shade. But I've been having a really fun time with it. I'm getting to the point now where I can wreck most machines. I like the combat mechanics to it because there's like elemental damage that you have to do to you have to like shoot off certain machine parts, and if you shoot off certain parts, like they'll lose that ability, and you have to like there's like different ways you can hunt each machine, and they're all like based off of animals.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Well,
like
I saw them looking like dinosaurs.
yeah, there's like a dinosaur looking one. There's like a thunderbird. There's
Like a Zapdos?
yeah.
Oh, are they Pokemon?
They
Are they like robot Pokemon?
You gotta
Oh,
collect
and
them
yeah,
all.
and the biggest
Kill them all?
well, one of the best features of the game is that you get the ability to override machines
And then they
make
become
them
yours.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for you do. So they are like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh, you weaken them?
No, you have to stealth.
Sometimes you have
shoot 'em
to
to see.
paralyze them.
You have to sneak up on them, and then if not, you have to stun them.
Paralyze.
And
Yeah.
and take them over.
Pokeball. I mean, take them over. Yeah.
My only criticism though is that only a few of them are mountable. Most of them are just like companions, and you can't order them around anywhere. Like they stay in the same spot.
Do they hurt? Do they
Yeah,
fight for you?
they'll attack any hostile machine in the area. So like if you take over like a really strong machine right off the bat, he'll like kill all the things in the area.
Kind of like on Pokemon, on the new ones where you press the left bumper and your guy will run out and
Yeah.
start attacking. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Nice.
Yeah, like that.
Technically, this game came out first, so Pokemon borrowed from it, honestly.
But the strongest aspect about it, like the combat mechanics are fun. It's like a really
It's a slasher, or there's a shooter.
it's a stealth slash shooter. Like you have a bow.
She's
and
got a
arrow.
bow. I was gonna say. I know she has a bow.
Oh, yeah.
Later
No,
on, you
you're
get
right.
bombs and like special guns that like
Just like Pokemon.
yeah.
My favorite part of Pokemon.
When you got your gun.
when you give Pikachu his Glock, it looks so cool. Go Pikachu, I choose you.
You can't catch other people's Pokemon, but you can kill them.
Pop
No,
that
I've always
bitch.
wanted to try Horizon. I feel dumb. Like it's been out.
Been on my
so
list
many
for
games
so long.
Come
Well,
out and then it's just years
yeah,
go by
yeah,
before
That's
I
the
play.
problem.
But the best
Because they all take forever to meet.
best thing about it, in my opinion, is the world building. Like, it's very interesting to travel the world.
Yeah, it's beautiful. From what I've seen in the graphics, it's a very pretty world.
like there's like ancient ruins.
Yeah.
Like you can tell.
I saw the sequel looked like an Avatar too. Like they went to the water in the sequel. is what
Yeah,
it
there's
looks like.
water.
There is water.
There is
Awesome.
water in the game. I can confirm.
Salt or tap?
It's fresh water
Those,
mostly.
those
Yeah.
are your delegations?
They don't have tap water in this game.
Salt?
Post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, they're tribal.
Salt or
Um,
tap?
Monsters. Maybe there's
Yeah.
a fucking Aquafina or something.
Like-
well, I guess that's not tap.
Fresh water.
Each tribe
Salt
has,
or
like, their-
fresh?
But yeah, like
Chase just found out your thyroid was in your neck the other
Shut
day.
up, we can't put that on the internet. Yeah, I did. Yeah, they checked Miranda's at the doctor.
It wasn't even the thyroid comment. It was, we can't put that on the internet. It's just in, fellow listener.
I didn't know. I didn't know where the thyroid was.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I thought it was
Pituitary
in your
glands.
legs.
Yeah, I thought it was like near your thighs. Thyroid. Yeah.
Thyroid. I mean, that makes sense. You're
Why would
using
I
your
know
root
this?
words.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable when you get yours spelt up by a doctor.
And I was in the room and they grabbed Miranda's neck and I was like, oh.
Somebody about to catch hands
In
right
the middle
now.
of a panic attack, I'm like, well, I've learned something new. So that's a plus.
You know, way to make the best of a bad
If I
situation.
die, I die knowing where the thyroid is.
Just as God intended it.
Good lord. We digress. But, I mean, how far, like you said,
I'm decently far into it now. There's still,
I love when you get into a game.
yeah, there's still certain areas of the map that I haven't unlocked. Like, it's, like I said, how it's kind of like Assassin's Creed. There's, like,
Yeah.
high points that you have to go to unlock areas of the map. But the fun and interesting thing about these ones is that they're robots. And they're called tall necks. And they are, like, this really tall...
That's a fucking derogatory term if I've ever heard
There's
one.
some, well, they're just, like, really
Sorry,
tall...
Swag.
Like, they're essentially like a viewing platform.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like on Breath of the Wild and kind of like on Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, and you have to, like, find a way to climb up onto them. But it's fun.
I've heard only good things about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I said, it's pretty, but and it's on your. It's man, I almost got the VR with it, like the Horizon VR for the PS5, but I canceled that and got this monitor instead. But
I also, when I bought the game, got the downloadable content already installed with it. So
that's good about when you wait to get a game. Is
Yeah.
you do get the whole package.
Patient gamer.
Yep.
Penis, balls, all of it.
get the whole
package.
whole dick.
Honestly, so I want to ask you about your other game though, real quick, just to
Yep.
follow up on. In a previous episode, Braden told us about a game he was playing called Ancestors.
I heard that. I listened to
you
that
listened to
intro.
that one.
Yes,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I actually knew the game when
Oh.
you started describing it. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Wow.
Nice. Have you gotten farther on Ancestors?
Not really.
No.
I've been playing Horizon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your things are still almost people.
Yeah, well, because
Is it? Oh, I was gonna say, is it that evolution?
Yeah.
it's just, it's bad because it got to the point where, like, I'm already pretty evolved. Like I said, we're
Right.
almost people.
people.
And
60 hours in.
It's at the point where it's, like, not hard anymore because you wreck everything that you come across now.
Nice.
Yeah, so, like, you used to have to, like, it used to be really hard because you had to avoid threats like predators and stuff,
Now you just fucking kill
giant
them.
snakes. Now it's just, I don't run away from anything. Things run away from me.
And it's just that for the rest of time.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, but now you have to get into the smart parts where you have to start developing things because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
a nation.
well, that's
You
the
gotta build
thing.
a
That's
Start smelting iron,
That's
copper
the sad
first,
thing. It
then
didn't
iron.
get into any, like, technology beyond sticks and stones. Like, I was hoping to be able to make fire, but they'd never even let you make fire.
Oh man, I was thinking that this
Just
would
where
go
you're
as
at in general.
go as
Yeah.
far as like a Civ game where you're like escalating from like cavemen up through like the modern age until who gets nukes first, and that's how you.
Yeah, I would have liked it to be more like that, or like Spore, if you've ever played it, where it's like you start as a bacteria and then you progress to the space age.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. That would be cool. And that's kind of where I was hoping that game would go. That's why I wanted to follow up on it, because I was just like...
I only knew the beginning of it when I started hearing you talk about it, so I also thought that they went all the way up to like modernity at that point.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's not.
Unfortunately, no, it's just surviving the African savannah.
Which you know pretty much a lot about.
Would you say that it looks like you did when you were there?
Some aspects, yeah. They
Wow.
got some aspects right.
But there were more people there. When you were there.
When I was there, yeah. There weren't people there yet. I was making the people in the game
Right.
into people.
But
That game just caught my eye, and I really wanted to bring it up again.
You should get it.
That's not a game for me. That's not a game for me, no. But it's a game for you.
Yeah.
That's why I like about the podcast. Braden and I, we're very similar, but we're also very different. So whenever we get to come onto this, we get to bring... For new nerd shit, it's always... whatever he's about to tell me about, I'm like, what does he have?
I am not familiar.
This one time he told me about this guy that raises ants and like fucking trains ants to like fight and records them on YouTube, and I was.
He doesn't train them to fight. He just records them when they fight.
He does like documentaries of ants. It's called Ants Canada.
Yeah, Ants Canada.
Okay.
He's gonna get a shout out on everyone for fun.
When you first told me about it, it was like our second one, and I was like, this is totally not what I expected us to be talking about today. Yeah.
Ants Canada.
Yeah, he has like like video series of colonies that he posts, and he names them like a cool name, and he just like tells their story of as they develop as a colony.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
And interesting things will happen. Like one time, a snake got into their exhibit.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's a big one. It's a fucking Goliath. What, did the ants survive?
He had to get it out.
Oh. I was hoping the fucking God's hand had to come in and take care of business.
It's just always, the answer's always just right in front of you there. You know, just take these snakes. Just take the snake
Like, this is
out.
gonna ruin my entire show if I let the snake just kill him.
Jason's over here thinking the snake got in, and then the
The
YouTube
ants took
channel
over.
just changed to like Canada snakes.
Snake Canada.
Apparently, it was
Maybe a bunch of ants could maybe together.
Take down the snake.
it was
Enclosed
apparently a
area.
type of snake that's known to like hide in or like lay eggs in like fertilizer, like stuff that you would buy for like those kinds of exhibits, and like
Just
it just
whatever.
hatched and
Oh my.
came out and started eating things
That's crazy.
like a mythical monster. I bet it was to them.
That's what it sounded like a
Yeah.
fucking basilisk from Harry Potter
Yeah.
coming in.
You were thinking the ants were gonna go to war with it.
I did. I thought there was gonna be a battlefield here.
Jason
Yeah.
had the whole thing knocked out in his head, just this epic snake and ant
The
war.
guy just comes in and gets it out. How'd you even post that? Cool.
Yeah.
That's new nerd shit. Now let's get that out of the way. That was our stuff for anybody that didn't want to listen to Star Wars stuff. Because guess what? It's May. It's May 20th. I think in 5 days it's the actual birthday of Star Wars. I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure it's May 25th is when the first one came out. Might have to fact check that one. I know it's May 25th or 26th. So we decided to get it. We were going to do May 4th, but we pushed it so we could all be together today in person, and I think that makes for a better show. I want to start today's episode with Star Wars talk with, let's do the news that came out of Star Wars Celebration. So we'll start with that and kind of the state of Star Wars right now. How's that?
That sounds great.
The state of Star Wars and Star Wars Celebration news.
Yes.
And then we'll work our way to some other stuff. So let's do the state of Star Wars, and then we'll get to the news. So the state of Star Wars right now. How Weezer?
I'm trying to refresh the memory on the celebration, but what I remember was new Rey movie.
New Rey movie, yep.
New Rey movie.
New Jedi Order, I guess, through Rey.
High Republic. High Republic something.
High Republic something.
Movie. I think it's a movie. So we're going both directions so far. One way far back and one way far forward.
Yeah, I think it's not even High. I think it's Dawn of the Jedi.
Dawn of the Jedi.
was
Okay,
what
so
it
not
was.
High Republic.
So even like
before High Republic.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we also have Ahsoka TV show.
Right. Yeah.
That's what else am I missing?
And I think there
What
is
else am I missing?
one more. There's the Dave Filoni movie, the Mandalorian, the Mando.
Just about Dave Filoni.
Yeah, the Dave Filoni.
No, it's gonna be the
Mandoverse movie,
it's gonna
the
be
Thrawn movie essentially.
yeah, but it's gonna be the Avengers of the Disney Plus TV shows, right?
Yes.
Because they're gonna do some. I think you're right. Boba, Mando, Andor.
Not Andor.
Not Andor. Not
And everything
Andor.
that takes place during the post Return of the Jedi stuff that's on.
Oh, right. Andor's middle to
Andor's
middle.
Andor is
its own thing.
pre-Star Wars.
And Ashoka though too. Then
You're right.
and Ashoka then too.
Right. She's connected.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a
Okay.
good
So
refresher.
that's the state of Star Wars.
That's the upcoming state of Star Wars right now. The
Yeah.
list of what we have to look forward to if they make all.
I guess
these
we could
things.
also call out that at the time when this would have been filmed, we were finishing up Mando Season 3, and Jedi Survivor was about to be released. So that was kind of the preamble of all that as well.
Yeah. So we're a little late to talking about this, but I think it's still...
And they also announced a live-action Cal Kestis as well, didn't they? He's going to start making a play into some of these TV shows?
I think they talking about, I don't know, like they just got that actor to do it.
I thought they announced... Anyway, I was just making sure that I had all the facts. Yeah, State of Star Wars is, I would say, optimistic. I think that it is...
Wow, okay.
I think that it is moving in a direction... Because what we're seeing here with things like the TV shows, we're seeing... They're not all god tier. They're not all the greatest TV show on the planet. But the core concepts of a lot of them are building this really cool TV foundation that's giving people more Star Wars than anybody's ever had in their entire life.
There's a lot of Star Wars.
And then you look into the aspects of what's coming up, right? You've got, I think that with the eyes that the prequel or the sequel trilogy got, and not the greatest of eyes, I think they'll probably do really well by retconning Rey, and maybe not retcon the right word, but give her a really good story that people don't agree with.
Hopefully.
Oh, I said optimistic. Remember, all this is like we're hoping that they saw the danger of their ways and maybe they'll course correct, I guess is the way I'm saying it.
If they're good, it will be great.
I honestly don't want them to change anything.
Yeah, retcon was not the right word.
Just give her a better story.
Give her a story that actually ends in her doing something adventurous with the skills that she gathered through the series. Because it just kind of ended. And I'm not saying that she wasn't involved, she had a huge thing, but at the end it was really Kylo-based in a way.
And I think if they wanted to make it Kylo-based, they should have Kylo-based it better.
Exactly. You can't have the first movie in that trilogy end up starting with the Rey series and then all of a sudden be like, oh, it's about the Skywalkers. And it's just like, okay, well, what about her? You literally... Right, well, too.
And we can beat that to death.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like they need to...
No, I was doing State. We don't need to go back and talk about that State. Yeah. What would that? It'll be 2015 State.
I feel like they need to make her make more mistakes, too, like, as a character. I feel like she's too perfect. Like, she solves every situation, like, immediately better than anyone else. Like, she was, like, way stronger than Luke compared to when he first started training.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen people say that.
It just makes it hard to kind of relate to her.
I mean, the entire beginning of the third movie, though, is her, like, training and failing and feeling like she knows what's going on. Even with the weird re-image scenes with Leia, the whole purpose of her scenes were, like, training and being more focused and being in the present. So, like, I don't know if it was, like, completely say that she was infallible, but I think I see what you guys are saying, that she was just a beast and nothing ever caused her problems.
Which...
I mean, there's an entire there's like entire scenes in the middle movie where she's like having a psychotic breakdown, looking in mirrors at the bottom of Luke's island. Like, I don't think things were going great for her.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe the scenes were a little bit more like self-doubty and like less external failures and more internal failures.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen the argument with Rey being kind of Mary Sue-ish, and I'm just like, I guess. Mary Sue-ish is like a term that like they're just capable of doing anything.
Oh, gotcha. That's a new one.
It's a female character that's capable of doing anything.
And I don't know. I don't know if I entirely agree, because I look at Star Wars the way as they come out, and it's like Luke blew up the Death Star with the Force. Like it's not a crazy Force move, but it's he blew up the Death Star with the Force. And when you make a movie in 2015, it sucks, but it's got to be flashier. It's got, she's got to be able to do things that look good on film today instead. Like, we went back and watched all three of the old Star Wars movies before we saw Return of the Jedi in theaters again. And it was like, this is rough to look at. Like, if I didn't have a passion for these my whole life, I would not want to be 30 watching A New Hope now.
No, but I mean, I don't know if you can pick an entire culture where that's not the true reality. Like, if it was made in the 70s and then you're like, I grew up on this, people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. You tell anybody to go back and watch Star Wars, they're going to be like, yeah, that was interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I just don't know.
Do I have to watch all 9 of them?
You have to watch every single one of them. Yeah. I like Rey. I've always liked Rey. I mean, I have the fucking lightsaber. I just think she's a character that didn't get the potential that It should have. I mean,
And I think that's what I was trying to say with the idea of that movie coming out. Hopefully they have the eyes to give the character
Yeah.
the potential that people are just destroying.
Give her an interesting
online.
story.
there's a good. The problem is in the sequels. There's a good story there. The granddaughter of the emperor is a sick story if you do it right.
Yeah.
Disney fumbled the bag,
Oh
as they
my
know,
god!
boys.
I can't tell you how frustrated I am about knowing that they had all these flashback scenes prepared for Rise of Skywalker that could have made that movie a million times better. That could have answered a lot of questions better, and they were like, "We're not putting that in the movie." And it's just like, oh, I hate that I have to forgive Rise of Skywalker. It's a movie that I've liked more and more every time I've watched it, but it's still like one of the worst Star Wars movies. It's just like, man, if they could have just put a few more scenes into that movie.
All right, so do I have to stop you and say that that's not the state of Star Wars right now? We can go forward.
That is kind of the state of Star Wars. That's where we're left off with. That's
I'm looking at everything that they announce. And they talk about where we're going and
Yeah.
what's happening.
That's fair.
I mean, I'm hoping that
I'm
a lot
hopeful.
of that stuff is.
It's scary, man.
That's
It's
why
because
it's
of the sequels that
optimistic.
well, I'm glad you're optimistic. I'm also optimistic, but I don't know if the entire fandom is optimistic.
The entire fandom sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
Like, more often than not, they usually. I mean, half the people listening are probably shaking their head like, "Fuck yeah,
Yeah.
yeah." Most fandoms do. That's the problem with fandom.
Like, I was excited when I found out the Rey movie. I was pumped when I was like, they're making a Rey movie?
'Cause they can make
I
it great.
knew right away that a lot of people were not going to be happy.
I mean, it's cool that they're gonna go the other direction
tough.
as well.
It's tough.
If it's good, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
If it's not good,
it's going to
it's
get
gonna be
worse.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah. But
But I mean, think of the stuff. Like, when did Rogue One come out? In
2016.
in connection with the other three, though. Like,
It
was
went
it
Force Awakens, Rogue One,
okay?
and then Last Jedi.
I mean, it just shows you like how good single stories can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andor.
Andor in itself, the show is so fucking good that it's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I
I mean, because that's for me. That's like part of the state of Star Wars too, right? Like the current shows as well. Because you get a show like Andor, which is exceptional television. Can we all agree on that? That
Yeah.
Andor is probably the fucking best
100%.
Star Wars
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
But then you get like shows like Obi-Wan, which is just riddled with bad
Bad stuff.
writing.
It's
just
it's
so
got,
easy to fix.
like a fantastic core concept, but when you cut out everything else, the core concept only makes 15 minutes of an entire
it makes
8-episode
you worry.
show. Yeah.
Like the first episode was so good, and then week after week I kept being like, "What the hell is like?" There are things, and that's Star Wars anymore. There are scenes in certain movies, there are scenes in certain shows, there are episodes of certain shows that I think are awesome, riddled around just garbage.
Bullshit.
That somebody, if they would have just read over the script or something, it's like. So that's what makes me worry. It's like, here's these awesome ideas that are lined up in the barrel. Please have somebody reread before we get why Obi-Wan can light flames and Darth Vader drags him across those flames or whatever, and then somebody lights bigger flames and Darth Vader can't get Obi-Wan anymore with the Force. Like,
Oh, I remember that conversation.
that was the first. That was the tipping point.
I
That was
remember
the,
that
like,
conversation.
that
I
was the
remember
first
where
episode.
I was when I had that conversation.
Yeah, I
with
called you.
Yeah, I remember where I
It
was
worked.
when I had that conversation. Because
I
it's
was
like,
like-
yeah.
The show, it hadn't gotten bad yet. But, like, that was the first part that was like, oh, they'll explain that, right? And then every episode after that had, like, something that was like, oh my god. Like, so, like, ugh. Same with Book of Boba Fett.
I watched a YouTube video of a guy doing a comparison between scenes from Andor and Obi-Wan, and just like what Obi-Wan could have done differently that they did in Andor that would have made it better. And like, watching him break down the scenes and like he slows down the scenes and stuff, it's even worse because it's like there's parts where like stormtroopers just drop their weapons, like they'll just like fumble and fall out of the way, or like Obi-Wan like won't even really hurt someone, but they'll just like fall down and be dead, and like just bad, like almost looks like stage acting.
They had
like,
that entire middle villain as well, the Night Sister that gets like stabbed in the heart in the middle
Yeah.
of the TV
Oh
show,
my God.
and then
She
she's
said that
back
they're killing
like
her.
2 episodes later by some magical plot armor that she was wearing.
Yeah, she was. I mean, yeah, like what a character that. I mean, whatever, but that didn't really need to be a part of any of it.
Yeah.
You could have made that
Yeah.
all Anakin and Obi-Wan, and like little Leia, and it would have been fine. I actually like the little Leia.
I agree. I think I would have stopped with your first sentence where you're just like, just make it Obi-Wan and Anakin and stop right there. Like, I would have been fine.
Yeah, I didn't really like little Leia.
It just felt like another problem that was introduced or a solution to a problem that they
And if
introduced.
she didn't get captured like 3 times and
It was a story for the sake of being a story, but didn't tell
She
something
almost
fun.
evaded them the first time in those woods. They could not catch her.
Yeah, the adults were
That
really
4-year-old was
Yeah.
outrunning 2 35-year-olds well.
So things like that, you know what I mean? Things like that are literally in Star Wars right now, and it's like, guys, you got to do better than that. If we're gonna nail these upcoming projects, you gotta do better than that. Because even Andor comes out, blows everybody's mind, but then, and we'll get to the Mando season 3 review, but like Mando season 3 comes out and it, can we say, underperforms?
It simmers.
It's certainly it's full of the same writing things that you're just like, please God, don't do this.
I got about 4 episodes into season 3 of Mando, and I was just bored
Finish it.
the whole time. I didn't even.
There were, man, the second or third episode with Catch the Kid from the Dragon episode,
Mm-hmm.
where you're just like, you finish the episode and
Dude,
go,
that episode was the worst one.
that served no purpose. Like, there was no good. There was nothing fun. I feel like I just did a school assignment by sitting through that.
Yeah, that was the worst episode,
And not only that, there's that weird, like, there's such a sticking line for me where all of a sudden one of the warriors' jetpacks quits working and he starts falling. And then in the final 3 episodes of that TV show, they're on those jetpacks constantly.
The whole time.
They're flying through Mandalore, just losing their minds. And some dude literally just drops out of the sky 3 episodes ago for flying for less than 15 minutes. I'm
Yeah.
just like, this dude's leaving the planet to go up to the mothership to go tell him that shit's going
just
down.
Not the most logically
they
tight
don't
writing.
think things through.
No, the continuity between episodes, if anything, in Star Wars universe is almost like a running gag at this point.
That's what I mean, and it's like, man, come on, like, duh,
And it
it's
is-
fucking Star Wars.
And it like on the surface, I don't care about celebrity cameos
Yeah.
and things like that, but it is to the point where like you can't use cameos to fill in.
Yeah, when the cameo is the purpose
Bad
of your
writing.
episode,
Yeah.
you're not doing something correctly.
Yeah, like the focus should be around writing, because like you could call Andy. I wouldn't even call Andy Serkis and Andor a cameo. That's a full
he's
role.
he's a character.
Yeah,
I did not think about him when you said
But he was a
that,
famous
Yeah,
person.
because he did a very well. To be fair, his famousness is usually him as somebody else.
Yeah,
but yeah, right. You're right. I mean,
People
he is.
know him now at this point, and that was done really well. But
Yeah.
if the sake of the episode is just the cameo, or the sake of what makes the scene good is look at this real life famous person.
Well, I mean,
It
I
doesn't
think
do
I did
anything
exactly what they wanted me to do. I was like, is that Lizzo and Jack Black? And then later on in that same episode, I'm like, is that Christopher or whatever his name
Is that
is?
the doc?
Is that Doc? I just started talking about Back to the Future while I was watching one of the most boring,
Christopher
unnecessary
Lloyd.
Worst
episodes.
episode. Worst episode.
And I'm just
Did
like-
you see that episode?
Which episode?
The Jack Black.
Jack
episode.
Black and Lizzo
No,
episode?
never saw it.
Okay.
I thought that's what you were raging against about your cameos.
No, oh yeah, that is what I was mentioning,
But it's just like...
because I saw that and I was like, because that was when I was deciding if I should finish season 3, and then I saw that and I'm like,
about it, yeah.
okay, it's one
Yeah.
of those things again.
Like, the minute you see him, you're just kind of like, oh, this is just going to be about the fact that they're here. Okay. Because it ended up
And
being...
it's like the second to last episode. It's like, or the third
Is
to
it?
last.
I can't remember where it's
there's
at.
that episode, and then it's 2 more, and the season ends. And so we're that far in, don't know what's going on with the story, and we had a whole episode of.
Oh, that's
that
right,
shit.
because that's
this
when
is the
she
Mando
has...
review.
That's because, yeah, we moved from the State of Stars. Apparently we're unhappy
It's
with
part
it.
of it. We're happy, but there are things to complain about.
Optimistic, but double-talking
fuck,
ourselves
I'm
aggressively.
sorry. We have to get the shit out of the way.
We hope it's better.
The Mando,
We're
yeah,
optimistic.
we're telling you why we're optimistic, because it can't be this bad again,
Yeah.
guys.
It can't get much worse.
Yeah, we're here. We've all watched
We hope.
Jack Black and Lizzo be king and queen regent of a no-name planet for no reason.
For an entire.
And then you get 5 minutes of, I guess, substance at the end,
Right
where,
at the end.
where you come in,
Yeah.
but then it's just this weird, rushed, forced scene of awkwardness.
Yeah.
That's the thing that it's missing. I feel it's just substance. Like there's so many
Well, they take-
substanceless scenes.
They take the best parts of parts of an episode and contract it down to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they've put 50 minutes of filler on the front half. And what I don't understand is, why couldn't you just switch those proportions? Like, could one you make the thing that's actually good longer?
Yeah.
And like, have a weird filler thing where like Jack Black's a clown, but make it 10 minutes of an episode.
Yeah.
Now, as we know, I'm an Andor snob, so I'm going to be one for a second.
That's okay. He loves Andor.
Yeah, I feel like Andor does it right, where like no scene could be cut. I feel like there's no like fluff or filler in Andor. Everything is important or connected in some way. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't show things unless they're relevant.
I think I know what you're trying to say, but I don't know if that's like... I just think that every scene... It's not that they... You could tell the same story without half the scenes, but every scene they put in moved the story forward well.
Yeah, enhanced it.
You can take scenes out and be like, I still know what's going on.
Yeah, that's... I guess I
But like, everything they did was moving the story forward within the, like... I don't know, 3 or 4 storylines that happen within Andor. In an interesting
way, too.
Right. And it's moving the grander part forward, it's moving the individual episode forward, it's moving the scene forward.
And that's a sign of tight writing.
Right. It's actually good screenplay.
It's compelling television.
Yeah. Yes.
And Mandalorian Season 3, because like, I do like...
Well, we can't even let Season 2 off the hook. There's some stankers in that one, too.
That's fair. I'd like Season 2 more, but I think Season 2's big moments were bigger than Season 3's big moments. Season 3's big moments didn't... Like
I feel like we lost the reason that Mando worked, and as much as I don't know, as much as Mando worked, people loved the journey between Mando and Grogu. Like, we know what's going on. Well, all of a sudden that journey changes in Season 3. That's no longer this journey anymore. The journey kind of starts off like there's no purpose. Like, he's like, I need to go bathe in the living waters, and you're like, hold on, that's the entire season? Like, that's what his goal is? No, it's done within 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, it didn't have a purpose. The other ones were like, we got to figure out what this thing does and who do we take it to.
Yeah. I hate to say it because I didn't hate Season 3. I didn't hate it. It just had a lot of those things in it that, man, I was bummed. But it had a lot of good. It had a lot of good too. Had a lot of good.
Some of the the climactic fighting, the introduction of things, the Moff Gideon twist was good.
I like that whole episode where they went and did with the professor. Or the scientist guy.
Yeah, what was that? That was like episode 3 or something. Completely random, but like it
felt Andor-ish to me.
There was also a lot of emotion hidden in that episode that kind of freaked me out, like the ending of it, where I'm just like, oh, she's not. Oh.
So when I saw that episode, I was like, okay, this season could go into a really new direction.
That's right.
And it really didn't. I mean, it did stuff with that, but like it didn't do everything with that. So it's like everything's like the problem with making it into this Avengers thing is. Everything's just kind of
migrating.
We're just trying to get to something even bigger. We're getting through this series to get to the movie. I hope Ahsoka looks fucking awesome. That trailer looked amazing. Did you see the Ahsoka trailer?
Yeah.
It's dude.
I think I did. I watched it 3 times. I just watched it the day of release and I haven't watched it since.
Yeah.
They
looks amazing.
The Avengers team up movie has to be good because, or is it a TV show?
I think it's a planned theatrical.
But I also don't think it's for a hot minute. I think it's like 2 or 3 years down the road, right?
Yeah, I think it's a...
But it has to be good, because otherwise it is going to fall for the same criticisms that Marvel's getting with their movies, where it's like, there's a lot of scenes in Marvel movies that are strictly dedicated to setting up other movies.
Well, not even that. I also think if the movie fails out, it's going to have final Game of Thrones problem where you go, why go back and watch all the other TV shows again when I know where this goes?
Exactly.
It goes to garbage. I don't want to finish this.
Well, the shows need to make sure they're really good so people want to go see a movie about the end. You know what I mean?
I hope.
It's
just going to rest on its laurels.
Season. You gotta have a pretty big build up if you're gonna have people be like, well, then go see this movie about all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Heir to the Empire concept gets a lot of people excited and gets those of us who know about that whole storyline excited to see like how they live action that shit. I'm ecstatic about that. I just hope
I don't think I realized that was the framework of what that movie was going to be.
Yeah, like that's the direction that they're not exactly that, but
I was
like
going to say, how are they going to do?
Because I mean, the Ahsoka trailer kind of hints at it because.
Well, that Thrawn was coming back.
Right. But I think Dave Filoni just did a thing where he said that like Thrawn is the big bad, is the Thanos.
Gotcha.
And I think like I'm really excited because I think a lot of people do want to see these stories of these characters doing things just a little bit after Return of the Jedi instead of
100%.
So you get it if they can keep mastering deepfake, which I think honestly I enjoyed how Luke Skywalker looked in the Boba Fett, not in Mando season 2, but in Boba Fett.
It's getting better.
I think you could get even Luke Skywalker involved in some of this shit more often.
Yeah, I mean...
And you can get some pretty solid that era stuff. And Dave Filoni, he clearly knows Legends, so he's going to try to implement and turn some of the Legends stuff into
He's also
real
talked
stuff.
about how his team, he has a team of literal keep me straighters, where like he'll start doing things and he'll have like people fact checking him against different aspects of lore.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's Legends or not Legends, it's just like, hey, I want to do this, and they're just like, well, you can't do that because in 400 BC or before the Battle of Yavin, there was this going on.
Thank God, they need that because they're.
To be fair, I think that's the one thing I can't criticize most of Disney about is that they keep continuity relatively straightforward. They don't fuck with that, which is nice.
They just got to make sure they can keep.
They just hire
story straight.
They just have a rotating cast of interns for story writers, and sometimes it doesn't go well.
I see why there's a writer's strike.
Basic stuff. So I don't know. I'm excited for that. I'm really looking forward to the Dawn of the Jedi thing, just because like I think it's good to take it back.
Yeah.
Take it back.
People
will
be asking for.
It'll be the first dip of the toes into any sort of like cinematic type pre-episode 1 lifestyle, which is huge.
All of it, yeah. Get us out of this ballpark.
It's wild too because like the episode 1 stuff and even slightly before it is kind of like a very small amount of time on a Star Wars timeline. Mm-hmm. Like they've established so much. They've established more on the back end than they have on the front end, and they have a good chunk of stuff in the front end as well.
Yeah.
But like the amount of stuff that goes back to the High Republic and like the Dawn of the Jedi, like they're doing here, and Rise of the Sith and Battle of
the
original
Acolyte series. That's another series that's coming out. That one, I think it's a High Republic Sith.
Oh, interesting.
Show.
I think that dropped off my radar completely.
Oh yeah, that's one.
That's a TV show.
It's a TV show for Disney Plus. Yeah.
Disney Plus.
It's a Sith.
Interesting. I mean, that's cool too. I mean, they're just keeping it going. And I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about the video game, but that's one of my biggest compliments to it is how the game itself feels to be bridging old stuff, middle stuff, and some of the new like futuristic stuff. And I mean, I respect the hell out of that because it's a cool way to bring in fans of almost every genre. So the idea that they're going to devote movie time, TV show time, a little bit of video game time, whatever it is, to something that people will to this day say the best video games are all about, the Old Republic, that like people love it, people want it, and now they're kind of playing to the people. So much like everything else, I hope they do it well.
I kind of forgot that the new game does touch into the High Republic stuff. Yeah, there needs to be more TV shows. There needs to be. Star Wars is best at its live action. That's Star Wars is birth live action, and for something to be real, I think it needs to like the animated shows are good. Don't get me wrong, but like. You need to nail the live action.
Well, the problem with the animated shows, not so much for Visions, I guess that can get a pass, but like the big ones that everybody respects are what'd you say?
I said loves me some Visions.
Oh, the part that everybody respect, it's still embedded in a kids TV show. And I'm not going to say that's a problem. Star Wars is inherently a kids TV show, but when it's like originally Cartoon Network, I mean, like listed it on like 4 o'clocks on a, that's prime kid TV time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, so you can have really good Star Wars in there, but like I haven't gone back and watched most of it because
I've seen a good chunk of clips.
I've watched the good clips, the substance stuff, but
it's
like
pretty dark.
Yeah, definitely grows up with its audience.
Yeah.
I've heard that as well. So yeah, I'm just saying like you can hide good Star Wars and weird stuff. So if you're gonna start giving. You got to keep it live action because it just has more of an adult appeal.
There's not many kids shows with topics of genocide and war crimes.
Remember when Obi-Wan started? It was like the day after that last like school shooting, and they had to put a thing up because the episode literally starts with the Jedi Temple being raided and children being like, "Ah!" It was like the day after that big shooting last minute.
God, I shouldn't laugh at that.
Yeah, you shouldn't, but I mean, it's true.
Bad timing.
Happy anniversary.
Nerd shit.
Nerd sheet getting dark. It's real things. But it's something that happened. They had to put a thing, like, literally in the episode. I think it was, like, the day after.
Just came up and it's like, our bad.
It wasn't like that, but it was, like, some of this, just like something to put in. No,
triggering.
We filmed this before this happened, sorry.
Mea culpa.
But, yeah.
The worst.
I'm just trying to pick which point I want to go into next, really, is... I mean... one more thing about the Rey Skywalker movie.
Mm.
Because I think deep down that's probably the one I'm most excited about. I am a sequel forgive us. I do like the sequels. I love the first two movies. So, but I hope that Rey goes up against the Yuzong Vong.
I had heard mixed reviews on like how people felt about that concept, but it could be an interesting tie-in again to bring Legends more in spec.
Do you know about them?
I've heard of them, yeah.
They're pretty. I don't really remember so much, but like they're essentially this like species, this race from where like Star Wars is a galaxy far, far away. They're from like a separate galaxy, and they like make their way in to like.
It's been so long since I read the books.
And cause fucking chaos. They kill a fuck ton of people when they show up in those.
It's almost like a blight.
Books. And I just think that's a cool something from Legends, since they're already doing that with Thrawn and a lot of other things in Star Wars. I mean, essentially the sequel movies are stuff from Legends. Like the clone Palpatine thing is all stuff that
it is. It's all
existed.
from The Last Command and Heir to
People
the
get
Emperor.
so mad at these things, and it's like, well, these are. I mean, they're not well done, but they are concepts that.
Well,
they
actually,
took.
that's a great point to bring up too. People are thriving in the forgiveness of that one Dr. Pershing's being a clonist and like, oh, well, they're retconning all this stuff to make it make more sense in the sequel trilogy. And the entire time that's when I dawned on me, I'm like, well, this is literally one of the most revered storylines in all of Star Wars Legends.
Yeah.
But you guys just don't like how somebody else did it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people complain about the sequels, and like, I don't know if there was a complete plan there, but like, I think they had a plan. I don't think a lot of people say like, oh, they just pulled Palpatine out of their ass. I'm like, I don't think
how they
did.
showed it without some of the like side media.
Mm-hmm.
How they showed it. Yes, I give those people their credit. They did just pull Palpatine out of there. Somehow he returned. However, if you had any periphery vision on like where Star Wars was, what it's become, you can kind of be like, yeah, they didn't do it exactly yet, but I see what they're doing, and But if you're a basic movie fan, you wouldn't. So,
I think Rey was also always going to be, like, related to him in some way. I really do. I
don't know if I had an opinion on that.
I just... Because one of the things I saw is, like, Rey's theme is apparently Palpatine's theme, just, like, done in a different...
Not a minor key, but a major key.
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the whole thing on it, and it essentially is that, and, like...
They were giving you hints the entire time.
I think JJ had a plan. I think then when Ryan took over, he wanted to kind of change the plan, and then JJ got it back and went on to change the plan back. Because we fucking set a bunch of stuff up in The Force Awakens for this girl to be somebody, because multiple people are like, what girl? Who's the girl? What's going on with that girl? For her then to be like, she's not anybody. And I was always, even when I saw the Last Jedi, I was like, she's not anybody. And everybody got so mad at The Last Jedi because of things Kylo Ren says, and I'm just like, you do know he's the bad guy, right? Like, you're not supposed to like what he says, right? You know that, right?
Yeah, but he's attractive.
Yeah.
He's got his shirt off and he's got his pecs
Yeah,
out.
but I mean...
I hear Kylo Ren has a six-pack of abs.
I heard Kylo Ren's a punk bitch. I mean, I like Kylo Ren. I like the characters. I like some of the ideas.
Man, that opening scene in The Force Awakens comes out so strong. I don't know if it's the exact opening scene, but like one of the first scenes where they're on that planet and Kylo comes out and stops the blaster bolt.
Sure.
And like that was
cool.
That was like the opening to like, what are they about to do?
I think immediately when I saw that scene in theaters, I was like,
I don't think
here we go.
Nearly
started on such a high note.
Yeah, nearly no one was mad at The Force Awakens when it came out. Like, they were all pretty excited. It was The Last Jedi where, like, the split really took.
And that blew my mind. I remember leaving The Last Jedi and feeling like a fucking king. Like, I was like, that was a great movie. We went out into town and told people we had just seen it. People were like, oh, was it good? And I was like, it was amazing. And then the next day I went on the internet and it was like, a lot of people hate it, though.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I am the biggest cheerleader of them. They are good movies. And, like, as far as Star Wars content, they introduce a lot of cool things. They do some weird things, and then they do homages to old stuff that I respect the hell out of. But, I mean...
Some people hate, which is...
Right, but, like, I won't sit here and be like, what did you call yourself? A prequel apologist?
A sequel apologist.
A sequel apologist. I'm more just like, they were Star Wars content that happened, and they're, they're fine.
Okay.
I don't... dislike them. I'm not sitting here saying they're shit.
Yeah.
I just think
Don't
that,
think
like,
they ruined anything.
no, they're fine. They were, for a self-contained generation of children, they're probably going to love them, which is great. That's the important part.
Yeah.
I'm a 31-year-old jaded man who loves the Star Wars I knew, right? They probably were never going to win me completely over. But then again, they have with the TV show, so maybe not. But yeah, they're good. They're fine. But I'm not an apologist, and I'm also not a hater.
I guess what I really wanted to get to, I always when I bring up the sequels, I gotta get into it. But what I really wanted to get up to is, like, I think because of me being an apologist, I just really want this Rey, because I think if the Rey movie nails it, we're back, baby. Like, it saves something. Maybe.
I think the problem is if the Rey movie nails it, though, they're not going to do anything. Like, they're not talking about doing anything.
They gotta do this first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The past 5 years, there have been lots of Star Wars projects that have just been like, we're gonna do this, and it's fucking gone.
They nuked a lot
They
of
nuked
talk.
a lot of
They
stuff.
knocked a lot of
So,
talk.
I just hope all this stuff even gets made in general.
True.
That's the real
Maybe
state of Star
that's what my
Wars.
optimistic
Do we get it?
sentence should have came from. It's just more like I'm optimistic that they'll make this stuff.
Yeah. I hope so. I want to see Rey. I want to see more. I want to see. What
Is Finn gonna be in it?
I don't know, but that would be cool too. All those.
I don't know if
characters
John
could use
Boyega likes
I've heard
working
that.
for, because they took him off the posters in China.
Yeah, they don't like black people there.
Yeah.
They only like Chinese people there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We can move probably off the state of Star Wars unless you guys have anything more you want to say.
I thought we kind of moved off the state of Star Wars in the middle of that conversation.
That's fair. Okay, well,
Got our Mando season 3 review in.
we did get our Mando season
We
3
did,
review in,
yeah.
so we can get off of that.
It also happened.
Vision season 2 is good.
Vision season 2 is pretty solid. I've
Brayden
watched
watched the whole thing.
Yep.
most of it. Ray, why don't you tell the audience what happened this week?
I want an episode by episode breakdown.
So,
Yeah.
Visions is a show about Star Wars things. Each episode is in a different animation style done by a different animation studio. And it's all non-canon stories, so they can basically go wild with whatever kind of creative concept they want to go with, as long as it's Star Wars themed, because they don't have to worry about canon and continuity and all things like that. So each episode is really different, and it would be hard to describe and give it the due diligence and justice that each one deserves, because they really are just great. I would just say, audience, go see it for yourselves.
Well,
As you should too, Brayden.
Disney, if you want to give them money, like,
It's a good thing you saw season 1.
Yeah, that's in season 1.
So that helps. Season 2,
I feel like I've been there.
which, that was the pitch meeting for this
My
fucking series. Just read it out. He's good at stuff like that. Which episode of season 2 did you watch? Brayden
First
told
one.
me he watched all of it. He texted me. He just told me randomly. I watched all of Vision season 2. Can't wait to do the podcast. Something along those lines. So today I asked him about it. He was like, I only actually watched one episode. And unprompted, he just told me he watched all of it. So now we're here.
I watched the first episode.
You watched the first one with
Sith.
that
Yeah.
one was good. I really liked
That one was really pretty.
Really pretty animation. That was my favorite thing about it.
Yeah. So you haven't watched any of season 2?
I think I've only watched 1 or 2 of season 1.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You should watch all of it. I mean,
You shut up.
it's
I don't need to take fake reviews from you.
you can at least attest for season 1. Season 1, that's the season that like hooked me. Like as soon as I started watching it, I was like,
The one episode
I
I did
fucking
watch,
love
I
this.
immediately liked.
yeah, that's fair. And then that's like the first one of the new season is pretty good. I've watched. I think we watched 5 or 6 of the episodes of the new season, and I think I still like season 1 more. I think there's more interesting tones in season 1.
Because what's the first episode like? Samurai based in
Yes,
season 1,
yes.
and I
Yeah,
very
that
much
one was
remember.
so cool,
I remember
too.
very much remember the art style of it.
There's another episode
Yeah,
in
it's so
season
unique.
1 where it's very. I always call it's my favorite. It's very a lot Star Wars and a lot anime. It takes like the highs of both concepts and then just mix them. And
Which episode?
It's the one.
Is that the one they sing?
It's not the singing one. It's the one. It's the
I
one
was
that we
about
showed
to make
Swag.
the joke about the South Park episode where they get the ninja stars and they go anime and they're singing in it.
That's
Hey,
what-
hey, let's go. That's
Neil
what I
Patrick
do.
Harris.
I'm
Yes,
coming up
there's
and
one
I'll
with- there's one
protect
with Neil
my
Patrick
balls.
There is a singing episode of Star Wars Vision that's pretty good too, where this guy used to be a Jedi, and he during the Purge he like
started a Pitch Perfect.
he ended up on Tatooine and then he became like a singer in a band. And they play at Jabba's palace, and like Boba Fett's there, and he's tapping his feet, and they're just rocking out, and it's a whole thing.
Isn't it something
And
like
it's a Jabba Hutt's like brother is part of the band or something,
Yeah.
and like
Gorduga. Gorduga the Hutt.
I think it's like a completely made because like it's all made up. None of it's canon. But the one episode that I'm talking about that mixes anime really hard, it's
The
like
twins.
there are two twins. It's called Twins, yeah, and it's
yeah.
and it's got Neil Patrick Harris voicing like the Luke, but it's not Luke. But it's fucking everything they say is it's very Star Wars, but it's also very anime. Like the way they speak, they get their lightsabers and they're fucking huge and they're on ships and it's just wild and it's just like the best of both worlds, like Star Wars, anime combined. And then there's just some really like more tame ones that are like deep and dark and they're one-offs, so they always leave you wanting more. There was a lot this season. I think season 2 had more things that I was like, I want to see more of those characters. Like there was this
Expand upon this.
me or them.
No, them.
It's like I will. So
Sir, continue.
the episode
You have me
opens
intrigued.
to a dark but like
No, you end the episode going, expand on
there's
this.
this one that's called like it's about like they go to find a ghost or some shit and it's just really interesting.
That was the one I was gonna say. Like, I want to see more of
That
that
was a
character.
solid-
What happens with her?
And like this character basically
Force
ends
ghost?
to go.
Space
I'm
ghost.
not really sure
Space
what
ghost.
kind of ghost it is, but she
Ghost to
defeats.
ghost.
It's actually a living. I think it's a living creature by the end of it, and she kills it. And like she has this like amulet throughout it that's like guiding her through the forest. And you're like, what is going on here? And then this like Sith Lord shows up like at the end to be like, I'm the one who's been guiding you. Come with me. And this girl like leaves her friends to go join this like you think it's a Jedi story, but she like joins a Sith Lord. And then they just fly off, and you're like, where does that story go? With this like
Does season 2 focus a lot on Sith?
season 2 focuses probably more on
Because the first episode is literally called
it's called Sith. Yeah, I'd say there's a good split. Here from the episodes I've seen though, they all focus on kyber crystals to some extent.
That's fair,
They
yeah.
are constantly just doing something with kyber crystals in season 2.
Must be a Disney thing because there's a huge section in the first Jedi Survivor Jedi game where you have to like go through caves.
Yeah,
and,
they are really just going.
They're like, we haven't said this for the first 9 movies, but we're gonna hit the next 10 years.
Almost every episode of season 2 that I have watched has something to do with kyber crystals. To some
The one we
extent.
watched today, the girl neutralizes them.
With her singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, more singing.
And then the cool thing is there's so many different animation companies, so everyone looks different, feels different, and they're just interesting. There was the one we watched that the Legend of Korra people did, and that was
Is
pretty
it in that
cool.
style?
It's in that but now
Gorgeous.
modern them, so like they got better. So
That's kind of cool.
yeah. So and they're short. They're 14, 15, 16 minutes tops.
Yeah, very easy to just watch one and
And like there's no like sometimes you watch I think the things that make Star Wars rough is like you see them fuck something up and that like fucks with everything sort of. But these they're safe. They're out of universe, they're not in canon, they have the essence of Star Wars, the things you like, the things that resonate with you about
Maybe they
Star
should turn
Wars.
all of their other media into those little clips and it would save us a lot. Actually, you and I talked about that back when we talked about Obi-Wan when it ended. We had talked about the best thing that Star Wars could do was just turn these storylines into like a multimedia 30 to 50 minute episode thing where they just do that thing.
Mhm.
Like
yeah, we did talk about
we
that.
talked about like doing, I guess it would be considered a Visions, but it's like
with canon.
with canon. It was,
Yeah.
there you go, boom. It would be like just take the good parts of Obi-Wan.
I tell you what, they kind of do. Did you see? It was earlier this year. It came out. It was something They did the Dooku storyline and they
Tales
did
of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi.
Yes, they did. I didn't watch those. I know
They were
that
good.
exist.
That was pretty fucking solid, and it was essentially that.
That's-
animated still, but
right.
it shows
so,
Dooku's like life
Yeah.
and how he became like
yes,
evil.
there's one on Dooku and then there's one on Ahsoka.
and the Ahsoka one's
It
fine.
made Dooku like a way more interesting character to me.
It was pretty.
So is
cool.
it? But is it like? It's actually the story that is canon of his life,
Yeah.
or it's a what if story?
No, it's a canon.
Okay, so that yes, that's exactly what they do because they could have done
And there's
that
another season of that coming out.
for like Obi-Wan, and instead of having the TV show of Obi-Wan, or make it a live-action TV show, but make it just
Quick.
3 episodes.
Yeah.
Like you don't need the other stuff. I understand that young Leia had appeal, but like.
Sure.
Cut all that out. Just
Yeah.
make it Obi-Wan protecting Luke, being nervous, the Empire being aware of some shit. Darth Vader's still looking for him. You could literally just do the parts where Obi-Wan has to interact with Darth Vader, have 4 episodes of that, and call it a Visions thing or
Yeah.
Right.
The Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi.
It's called,
And that's
yeah.
it. You don't need any more than that. Get Ewan McGregor to do it. Not to mention, throw him a bag for 4 episodes. He's going to love it. He'll be there even faster.
He's pumped. Yeah,
Right?
he loved what he
You
did.
can end the same way, and we wouldn't have to be sitting here going, yeah, most Obi-Wan kind of sucked. Because
Yeah.
it's like, no, it was
Unfortunately.
fucking great because it was...
I hope
meaty.
they do learn. I hope they do because like people like all the revisions, season 1 and 2 both get really great reviews, and
Yeah.
same with when Tales of the Jedi came out. Like, I wish Tales of the Jedi had more. Like it was
Yeah.
just Ahsoka and Dooku, and I
I-
was like, man, give
Best
me more
thing
characters.
Tales of the Jedi did was tell us about the fate of Yaddle.
Yeah.
We never-
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The fate of Yaddle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that on the top of mind
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah. I always
what happened to
wonder
that-
where
what happened to that
Yaddle
Yoda
go.
We
looking
can
thing?
put it. They're like I said, they're quick.
Hey,
They're all like 12 episodes. We
Quick
can
fact:
sit
there
and
is Yaddle expanded lore in the new Jedi game. Actually,
watch. Really? I have not gotten to that point.
yeah, no, that's
Man,
for
that
up ahead.
Yaddle fans are eating.
They have been on a hiatus since episode 1.
Yeah.
Yaddle was like
1999, and now she's back.
Jarl, Poof, and Yaddle, 2 of my favorite Jedi masters.
I'm
that had
interested to
nothing.
see that in that game because I mean,
It's not big, but like they have specific call-outs in some of the
Sure.
stuff that they.
she's voiced by somebody pretty famous.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh, is that who does it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Who?
yeah. Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's got a big old butt.
Yaddle. Yaddle.
Yeah.
Yaddle. Yaddle.
It's a proportion.
Not them
thing.
Yoda cheeks, you know, bulbous.
Slap them Yoda cheeks.
Yeah. She's
When are we going to get more pod racing TV shows? I would like that.
They can make a really cool
I
pod
would
racing
like
show.
some pod racing
I would
visions.
say. Okay, here.
I would like some. I would like a pod racers visions.
Even just an episode. I mean, pod
Just an
racing
episode.
is cool.
Well, not to mention episode 1 racer with the varied tracks, and they have all these characters, and they actually even have a little storyline with it.
pod
I'm
racing,
only half
yeah.
joking about that because I think it would be cool.
The pod racing scene
I
was
think-
the most entertaining scene in episode 1.
I think episode 1 is a good movie.
Sure, but let's not go into controversy. Let's not go into controversy.
Yeah,
right
nobody's
now.
gonna trust what I say anymore. They're like, he likes the sequels. He likes episode.
Pretty much everything that you've said up to this point is just like washed, and that includes the entirety of your podcast
Hear
library.
me out. Hear me out. Though I think of the prequels, it's the most that feels like a movie, as opposed to like the other ones just seem like a bunch of fucking scenes,
Violence.
like cutting. Like I love Revenge of the Sith. Don't get me wrong; it's one of my favorite, but it doesn't flow very well. Whereas Phantom Menace at least flows as a movie really well.
I have to rewatch him again. I don't think I don't have enough
The
opinion on
core
that to
plot
feel that
just
way.
wasn't very interesting.
And I think George Lucas's writing got worse. Like his his
Wasn't that
dialogue
one of the
got
biggest?
worse.
Wasn't that one of the biggest like criticisms of the final sequel movie too? Where they're just like it's so choppy and everything just keeps.
That was a criticism
bouncing.
for
It
the
is a
original.
fast, yeah. It's
just like, now we're in the desert, now we're in
a lot
the-
like Rise of the Skywalker.
That's
It's just
okay.
like boom, boom, boom,
It was a
boom, boom, he's
criticism
Darth Vader
with
now.
the
I don't-
original trilogy, his writing.
That's fair.
Like the actors, like there's clips of Mark Hamill saying like some of the lines George wanted him to say. He's like, "Who talks like this?"
Yeah.
I don't know if
Very
I
supportive.
have like that's an interesting take. I don't have enough of a thought, but that's an interesting take.
I think the
to
dialogue
me-
in the original trilogy is great, but I do.
Yeah.
But there were.
Yeah,
I think the actors pushed back.
to change them
more, but,
the
like-
"I love you, I know" is like a change. That
Yeah,
you know,
George Lucas grew too powerful, and by the time the '90s came in, no one could rein him in.
Yeah, I think if you go back and watch episode 1, it's got a lot of stuff that people don't like, but like to me, of the 3 prequel movies, it just feels like like the most cohesive. Like, you know, Liam Neeson's there. Like,
Yeah.
already a Paramount movie with
you
him.
know what? I don't know. I think if you watch episode 1 and then watch episode 3, you can see how they kind of like changed.
They do that Jedi Ninja Naruto speed run that you never see ever again.
Yeah.
I thought their arms were dragging behind them as they
might as well.
They've gone up the ventilation shaft.
And they just go they go to the Gungan city. And not that the other movies don't go, but I don't know. I just think, to me, Phantom Menace feels more like the original trilogy than 2 and 3 feel. That's more of what I mean. Do I think it's like a fucking exceptional piece of film? No. But
you said it was a good movie.
I think it's a good movie. I didn't say it was a great movie. It's a good movie. People, it's like ranked as like the worst, one of the worst.
I get bored watching it.
I love episode 1.
That fucking lightsaber battle at the end might be the best one in the entire
Oh my god!
series.
Oh yeah.
Not only that, just the crosscuts between the 3 different adventures and the music blaring in the background.
Yeah.
I won't sit here and say anything bad about episode 1 or 2 or 3. I very much respect those movies, and they have a lot for me in terms of. But again, much like I would get this sequel trilogy off the hook for a lot of its sins because of the clientele, I was the clientele for those movies.
You sure were.
I was a mid to early teenager who was mid-teenager who was jazzed about more Star Wars. I was here for it.
I think we were 12, 13 when episode 3 came out. So.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say
9.
anything bad about them. But I do want a Visions episode with a pod racer.
Yeah, what I was getting, I was like, I love the pod racing scene in Phantom Menace. Like, that's a fantastic scene. I think episodes 2 and 3 could
use for more pod racing.
Something cool like that, you know?
They could do with more pod
racing. To me,
just take out the middle of the movie.
Pod racing.
Just take out the middle of the movie. Now this is pod racing.
But I like the idea of just more short stories, and I'm surprised there isn't more pod racing stuff, because I don't think people dislike pod racing.
No.
And there needs to be more spaceship battle stuff. I think Rogue One was a movie that didn't end with a lightsaber battle, but ended with an awesome spaceship battle, and I want more spaceship battles in my Star Wars movies.
When they do gravity of size within Star Wars and do it well, I think it's one of the most breathtaking things on TV. When you have these Star Destroyers that just come out of nowhere and they show the pure size of these things over top of planets.
Yeah.
They had a few scenes both in Andor and Mando where they showed the pure size of the things that they were flying.
Yeah. And it looked good.
Those are the coolest fucking scenes. Even from my perspective as an adult, I'm just like, those things are so cool. They're so huge. Like that flagship that the Mandalorians were flying.
Yes.
And they go to land that thing on the city with Carl Withers as the mayor, and they land that thing outside of the city, and it's just like, it just go.
Yeah, they put a really good amount of their budget into making the ships look really good.
And then Rogue One does it too, with like the size of Star Destroyers. It's one of the things when you actually go back and watch the original stories, we have that like Super Star Destroyer, the class. It's huge, right? It's massive, but they don't really show you how massive it is. No. They just show you it in space. And sure, they'll put other Star Destroyers beside it, but that means nothing as well, because they've never put Star Destroyers near something little. Yeah. Then they have the scene in Rogue One where they have that Star Destroyer what's about to destroy
a city,
Saw Gerrera's city, or the city that he's outside of, Jeddah. Yeah, he's about to destroy that, and it's actually a Star Destroyer sitting on the surface of the Earth. And like at that moment, you're just like, really holy fuck, they're huge.
They are huge.
And then you're like, damn, I would love to have seen. Well, actually, another tangent on that is just the idea of like in the original Jedi Order game, you're a deconstructionist. Like that's what Cal Kestis is when he's hiding.
Running around.
You're running up Star Destroyers that are just monumental, and like that's what makes Star Wars like first off fucking awesome. But like that
idea,
kind of
had that with Rey in the first.
Oh yeah,
where she's
climbing inside.
She's junk hauling outside of like pieces of broken ship. Yeah, I don't even know how I got on this tear.
I don't care. Yeah,
but that is such a cool. You were talking about space battles. I think they could do space battles so much cooler if they did ways to just show you the insanity of what they're doing. You have an X-Wing that is this big, flying up the side of a Star Destroyer and like zooming in and out. I don't know how you do that in film, but you're right. They should make a Rogue Squadron type game with just the most insane, not game. I didn't mean game. Movie, TV show with like the most insane like aerial fights.
Yeah.
And the right gravity of it all.
It doesn't even have to be like wide scale, huge. Every Star Destroyer has a
A beam.
a Death Star cannon on
Sure.
them.
No.
There's
I
thousands
want what happens when the X-wings all of a sudden realize they just stumbled into a weird Imperial blockade that's
Yeah.
like and they're like, holy shit! They come out of hyperspace thinking they're going to like a rebel base, and they realize that the Empire beat them there, but they have to come out of hyperspace and instantly go into attack mode, and then it's just like, and they're like,
One of my favorite space battle scenes is in Andor, and it's a very small space battle scene where it's just Luthen's ship that's
yeah,
caught in that trap
and it's also like a
get away.
refurbished TIE cruiser because it's got
Yeah.
like the laser output that flips
And it's because like there are stakes, they use tactics. It's like you know where everything is.
Isn't it incredible how good that TV show is that I had to remember that scene that you're describing though
Yeah.
because there's so many good damn scenes in
Yeah.
that episode. Yes, you're completely right, and that would be an incredible way to do it. If they could do that, and like, I mean, even the ground to sky stuff that they did in Rogue One, where they had to like go through like the shield opening and like it was like
yeah.
floating.
Oh, yeah, dude,
like
that beach
there's
scene
there's so much stuff that they could do in there, and it's like that's such an untapped mine.
I've always said that the spaceship battles in Star Wars are just as important as a lightsaber battle.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Like that's why two of the three.
And pod
I mean, the first
racing.
Star Wars movie ends. Like most people think of Star Wars movies like they end with a lightsaber, but the first one ends with a spaceship
Big
battle.
space
Yes.
battle.
It ends with blowing up the
Iconic
Death
space
Star.
battle.
And
Oh, and like even then they got the gravity of it all right in the modern time where they show these little X-Wings flying down the walls of this Death Star and then into a chute that's only like yay wide on each side of the wings. I don't know why I'm so impressed by the aspect ratio right now,
It
but
just
like
makes it-
giant things like just look so impressive in Star Wars.
if you nail it, yeah, it's fun to see. And I think that there needs to be more movies or TV shows or anything where
There's a classic
They remember to
cruiser.
put
There's a classic
emphasis.
cruiser of one of these, the Dreadnought class cruiser. I think they brought it in recently to a game, but it used to be a Legends concept of just this hidden fleet that the Empire had found after trying to save itself after the third Death Star blew up, which has now all been retconned by Common Disney. But these things were supposed to be like 2 times the size of Darth Vader's Star Destroyer. Like just astronomical, takes 45 minutes to turn the thing in midair, beast of ships. And like I always thought in my head, it's like, okay, well you had the Empire's Super Star Destroyer, and then you had this thing sitting over top of like they just keep getting bigger.
yeah.
I'm gonna stop talking about spaceships.
No, it's cool. It's
Yeah,
cool.
no, to me, the most interesting thing about Star Wars, besides the Force and Jedi, are
Pod
the
racing.
yes,
Yeah.
Fun racing.
are the spaceships,
The Gungans.
like the different kinds of spaceships. I think they're cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
you got stuck on like a whole series of like a YouTube
Yeah,
rabbit hole.
he
of a
like
guy that-
Eckert's Ladder. Yeah, he just talks about space battles in Star Wars and different kinds of
And
spaceships.
that's the
in
magic
Star
of the
Wars.
Legends, because there's so many battles and cruiser types that have never seen any light of day on a screen that just go hard.
Yeah,
Anybody at Lucasfilm is listening, come on, give us some. They almost did that Rogue Squadron series.
Don't even feel like we're asking for wild stuff here. This has got to be good
you
stuff.
can mix it into the stuff. Like that's the thing with the sequels that I wish that I at least wish in Rise of Skywalker that they could have nailed it better. Like the
Yeah.
spaceship battle begin's fine, but it didn't have that.
It's all foreplay. There's no end to it because they end it in a weird way. Like the one at the very end of the movie where they
Yes.
get all like it's
Yeah.
great. It starts well, but like then the spaceships actively didn't have a whole lot to do there. They
Yeah,
like,
They
because
just showed up and blew
this
shit
thing
up.
Yeah.
is just like they're there for the effect of like,
right. It was
it's
it was like look
raising
at how cool this
stakes,
looks.
but it's not like
This is
there wasn't
something to
any-
happen until Rey kills Palpatine.
Yep.
Like honestly, the part where they were running up the one Death Star could just like tipped it.
Oh yeah, the
Killed
one the Star
everyone.
Destroyer. Yeah.
Or the Star Destroyer,
Yeah. The horses when they're riding on.
Yeah.
I do one more thing about that, and then we're gonna move on to something else. But I do really, I've always appreciated and I like the lightsaber battle on the broken Death Star, on the planet in Rise of Skywalker with Rey and Kylo.
yeah.
I like that
on the
idea.
water.
I like the concept. I know a lot of people have an issue with like how they use the knife to find the thing, but I'm just like,
That was cheesy, but
Whatever.
the lightsaber was
get me
good.
into that broken Death Star. Like I like that kind of shit. All the like little nods at old Star Wars shit that they threw into that, I appreciate.
I love exploring broken, abandoned things. which is
Urban
why-
exploration,
Yeah, which is why I like
Star Wars urban.
because it's a
Yeah,
lot
there
of,
you go.
Post-apocalyptic.
Yeah,
That's fair.
that's why I like the Fallout games too.
I was just about to say, have you played Project Zomboid yet?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
the top-down zombie, like
Yeah.
the most unforgiving. Sorry for me
Very
nerd
tough.
shit, but
I'm bad at it.
but like that's the ultimate exploration game because you're literally just crawling in people's houses and
Yep.
buildings. I love that game.
I don't know this game. I feel like I wanted to get into the video game, but we've kind of talked about the video game, and we can even go back to it. But there's so much that we're talking about right now that it made me want to say things about this. So I want to get into the Return of the Jedi 40th, birthday discussion. What we love about Return
Happy
of the Jedi
birthday,
specifically.
Return of the Jedi.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Return of the
birthday.
Jedi. Woo-hoo. Yeah, so Braden
green
and I
candles.
went and saw it a couple of weeks back in theaters for this situation.
Were there differences? Were there changes that they put into this that
It was the special editions, you know what I mean? The most.
right, but they didn't like have anything that was unreleased that they put in this
No.
one. Okay.
No,
Okay.
they just played like the most updated special edition that George
Okay.
would have done.
Cool.
Darth Vader went no.
Because I was gonna be my
at the
first
end.
question.
That kind of shit happened.
The episode that I again watched on Disney Plus about 3 days after that also had the no.
Yeah, so it's the most modern, whatever the latest fix up of it is, and that's what we got, which I was fine with because that's the one I've probably seen the most.
I have all 3 copies of the, what do they call it, the demastered edition.
Sure, yeah,
I have
yeah.
all of them on my computer.
Oh wow.
They're fun watches because they are as God
Classic.
intended it. You
Yeah.
know, as
Yeah. My Nana used to have the original, like, CGI'd VHS tapes of
the
all
pre-93s
three.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I think
had
she
a friend
got rid of
that had
them.
Those two once. You let me borrow.
Got the
them a
files.
long
I can
time
share
ago.
the
Play 'em
files.
anymore.
Yeah.
That's why I have my computer. I can send them all to you.
Yeah.
And I'll watch them.
And I would. I mean, any version of Return of the Jedi is good for me because I just fucking it's my favorite Star Wars movie. It's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back is your favorite Star Wars movie. Okay, I thought Return of the Jedi was also yours.
Return of the Jedi's up there.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
and
it's a
seeing it-
51-49
Seeing
almost.
it there in theaters for the first time was
Yeah.
certainly an experience.
It was wonderful. Besides the part I fell asleep at.
You got... What? Oh, pause right there for a minute.
Braden fell asleep for a minute. I had to nudge
It's
him.
the part where they're where they're on Endor, and it's a lot of talking, and it's just like dialogue, and it's
How old are you again?
all dialogue.
Yeah.
I know, 26.
I
Well, it's just
heard that same complaint from my 6-year-old cousin one time.
It's just-
too much
it's-
talk. Where'd the lightsaber?
It was just that part in particular. I didn't get a lot of sleep that night.
Right. No, we're not. It's fine. It's fine. You wait for the important parts.
Yeah.
I
But
remember
we
what
had
was
never
going
seen
on,
it
but-
in theaters.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you guys never watched when they did the '90s Reclassic edition? That's where I got to actually see them all for the first time with
No.
my dad.
I just saw
Like
it. I just saw
93,
them on
95, I think, and 97 because I did 2 years, I think.
Yeah, that was the first time, which is I noticed things that I'd never noticed before watching it on a big.
Oh yeah.
screen.
The biggest thing was just the extras. Like, I never paid attention to what the extras were doing, and it's just so funny to actually look at
See him fucking dancing.
people who aren't supposed to be the center of the scene. What are they up to? They're off to
They
doing
just
something
dance
goofy.
around.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed about Return of the Jedi and I hate myself for not noticing, and I needed to see it on a big screen, was that the Emperor has a cane at the beginning of the movie. This is my favorite movie. I've seen it hundreds of times, and until I saw it on a big screen, I didn't see his cane that he was walking.
I know
with.
the other thing that people were starting to call out, which I always thought was really interesting, is people are like, who are all these advisors that are following the Empire off of his shuttle, the Emperor off of his shuttle? And I was like, they've been there the whole time.
Yeah, the red ones.
Well, no, the
Oh,
senators.
the weird
yeah,
fucking-
the senators
Yeah,
that
yeah,
follow him. They
Yeah.
were like, have those old guys always been there? And I was like, yeah.
They are
everybody's-
weird, just like
Oh,
background
they are,
characters.
and they don't talk about. They don't even talk to them.
No.
There's a deleted
He sends
scene.
them away at one point.
There's a deleted scene where he has a console with them, but it's 2 lines long, and I don't even think. I think it's on YouTube. You can find it. It's only 2 sentences long, but he then sends them away. That scene leads into go down the chute, the old people chute.
The one that he goes down.
Yeah, down the old people chute with you.
But what I wanted to get at was when we were talking about spaceship battles. Return of the Jedi has, in my opinion, the best spaceship battle at the end of it. Like that, and seeing that in theaters was sick as fuck, man. That was awesome. Because it at least in the original trilogy, and I would say in the rest of the movies too, but like
I'm just trying to rethink like all the different Star Wars battles.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard. I apologize for being the Star Wars person that I am, but were there Star Wars battles in Solo, or spaceship battles in Solo?
Dude.
Oh, there's another scaling episode in that where they're going through that Kessel Run and there's that Star Destroyer. That's a good scene too.
So I do like Solo, but I don't think
remember.
it really had a spaceship battle sequence. Like I think there were like
I don't
Millennium
think
Falcon flew around and did some shit. But I don't think there was
Mostly
like
ground fighting. Yeah.
I don't think.
I think that you're not making like a wild claim. I think that's pretty fair.
It's very intense. It's kind of that like the rebels show up and the Empire's just there to be like, bitch, we're here. Let's
the
fight.
minute they get out of hyperspace, they're like in it.
It's go time, and it's just they're flying around.
It's a
they're
trap.
Zipping. It's a trap. It's so it takes like what the A New Hope or Star Wars did with just the Death Star run, and just like because we had just watched the first two, so it was fresh in my head when we watched it again, and it just like. It's fucking on steroids. Just like the way it's filmed, the way it looks, everything. The action. They go inside the Death Star. They swing around. He's like, "Colin's gonna get that shield. Don't you worry." And the little alien guy's like, it's fucking
Nub nib.
Yeah. Oh God. That's a spaceship battle. So you have a movie that takes a scene from like ground battle, Han, Leia, them, the Ewoks doing all that crazy. That's intense. What's going on there? Cuts to Luke, Darth Vader, and Palpatine. You got all of that, which I'll get to. Don't worry. That's my actual favorite part of the fucking movie.
You notice how that mirrors Episode 1 finale?
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Yeah, they just bounce around.
I never noticed.
Between a ground battle, a lightsaber battle, and a sky battle.
Mm-hmm.
I never
It's
noticed
fucking awesome.
Wedge Antilles is the guy who actually blows up the second Death Star.
Does he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him with Lando.
With
Yeah, but I don't
yeah.
think Lando shoots the missile. I think you're right.
I think Wedge does.
I think that.
Because I completely forgot about him as a character, because he doesn't really have a big spotlight, but he does a really important thing.
He's all throughout. I mean, yeah.
he's the main.
He shows up at the end of Rise of Skywalker. Too.
He's one of the main characters, and like a lot of his steam came from those Rogue Squadron games.
Yeah.
Like that's where a lot of his like backlog and backstory came from.
He became like a
kinda
cool
just, like,
character.
name drops and characters in those old movies when they were just making movies.
But that was the best part about like the 90s and early 2000s Star Wars was like name dropping nobody and then be like, let's make an entire game around that person and make him cool as shit.
And yeah, I mean that's like Boba Fett in general was like the most known like background character that became super famous.
Yeah. Now he's a great guy.
Now he's a great guy. Now
I have Daniel to my people.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's really nice.
Speaking of Jabba Palace, I think you're missing some.
I am missing my shades because that's a good point. So, since I thought Return of the Jedi was your favorite one, so let me get into some more things that are my favorite parts that make Return of the Jedi my favorite, and then we'll just talk about that. It kicks off with a fucking banger. Can we start with that? It's the best beginning to a Star Wars movie for sure. Even Empire, it starts a little slow before the fucking AT-ATs come in and shit. No. Return of the Jedi kicks off. The Emperor shows up. I guess that's how it starts. The Emperor shows up or whatever. Darth Vader does.
Darth Vader shows up.
But we immediately go to Tatooine, and you just start this. I just love it. This heist at Jabba's palace.
I will say
the movie kicks off.
I will say I love like the whole Jabba's palace scene, but Luke's plan every time still
eludes you.
I still make fun of it. I'm like, what was your plan?
I think he made a bunch of plans. I think he just had a bunch.
None of them were good.
Plans just in case. And he had to go with the final one at the end. That's how I like to see it.
Yeah.
He sent the droids in to hopefully maybe easy get that.
I guess
going,
it's like he's trying
that
to be
doesn't work. Back up.
Jedi way, solve it peacefully.
He does a lot of things to try to
Yeah.
solve. He sends people in to sneakily get Han out. Doesn't work. They get captured. So finally, big fucking nuts himself has to show up and be like, "Are my nuts big?" And then drop him in the Rangar pit. And he's like, "I guess my nuts are pretty fucking big because I'm gonna beat this thing with a rock." So that's so. A bone in a rock. He puts a bone in its mouth and lets go. He takes a rock, throws it at a button, kills a Rancor right out the gate. And then they just go. They do the whole thing in the sand with the Sarlacc pit, and it's just a great opening. It's just like Han Solo got taken at the end of it. What do we got to do at the start of the new one? Get him back. Bing, bang, boom.
Or is it, this is the land where I was born?
You're
gonna die here.
You're gonna die here. That whole
Convenient.
scene, it resonates with me. I remember seeing it as a kid, and like every time I watch it, it just gets better. Because even when I like think of Return of the Jedi, I think of just the opening scene in Tatooine where they're fighting Jabba, and even when there was like a big gap when I was a kid, like I remember being like 10 and I hadn't seen Return of the Jedi in probably like 5 years. And I just kept thinking of that opening scene, and I just fucking love it. It shows like the best of what everybody can do. Luke Skywalker's a Jedi Master, and he just goes in there and chops wood, fucking fucks people up, basically kills Boba Fett without even fucking thinking about it. Like,
Yeah,
just,
it was an
hits him,
accident.
knocks him out. I love it. And then Leia's the one to do the finishing blow on Jabba. Like, that's probably one of my top 5 scenes in Star Wars, is just the whole Jabba heist. And that's just the beginning of the movie.
My favorite scene would probably, besides like the space battles, would probably be the pod racing scene.
You son of a bitch.
No, not pod racing, but the speeder scene.
No,
Where they're like stealing speeders.
God damn it.
Yeah, it's an intense scene.
It is
It's a very good scene.
And when you really, like, if you think, like, I like to put myself in their shoes when I'm watching
Yeah.
that scene. Like, how fucking nuts would that
Well,
be?
just when they're like going through the trees trying to avoid hitting them and stuff, I'm like, I would fucking die.
For sure.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Crash into a ball of fire.
You're lucky it's just going backwards right up there jumping into the building.
And the fact, like, I always watch the scene and I'm like, I get how Luke and Leia can, like, do this. Or, you know, trained.
Jedi-esque
The
humans.
stormtroopers are just like, then Ewok gets on it later in the movie and you're like, holy shit.
Apparently they're easy to ride. Maybe we should think about it that
Yeah,
way.
maybe
They're not near as scary as we're making them out to be. An Ewok can do it. Fuzzy little bear.
There.
I don't know what my favorite scene
You
of
got a
that
favorite
movie is.
I don't know if the Jabba's Palace is my favorite scene, but it's a movie, much like Return of the King, it's a movie that's just riddled with great scenes. But yeah,
I'm reflecting. The space battle's a good one. Like the space battle aspect of that, just the insanity that's going on when they think it's not going to work, and everybody's like, "Oh, we're all going to die,"
and they just fight on.
and they just keep going. Like that's
They
so
kinda have
good.
to,
And like
yeah.
the way you said it too, it opens up with just like pure chaos immediately off the jump. That's so good.
And you keep it switches between scenes of like that chaos on the ground, and then it cuts because it doesn't go right into Luke and Vader lightsaber.
No.
There's a lot of calm.
Empire's
There's calm
taunting him.
as the Emperor's trying to get him to go to the dark side, and I've always loved how that whole scene plays out. It's just very calm, cool, and collect. The Emperor's just like, I know what the fuck. He thinks he's got big nuts. He's like, my nuts are even bigger than yours, Luke Skywalker, and he's just got it all figured out. And he's like, you like your father are mine, motherfucker. Your friends are gonna die. Like, kill
I
me.
like a part when he does that.
It's the ginger thing.
Palpatine's a ginger before he went gray.
Ginger, yeah. And
I really think the final scene though, no.
yeah, they could leave that no part out.
I
but
think
I don't
that's
know
my
why they
favorite scene.
included it. Yeah, I love when. I mean, my favorite scene, my favorite part of the movie that I always think, the more I watch it, the more that I get emotional. I remember the first time I watched it, I think I did cry. I just like when
Hayden Christensen walks out at the end.
no. It's you have a twin sister. Your thoughts have betrayed her as well. If you will not turn to the dark side, perhaps she will. And Luke, never. And it's playing that like, oh, and it's the lightsaber battle, and Luke has gone to the dark side essentially at that point. He's everybody thinks he's the guy that does everything right, and he saves his brother, and everything he does in The Last Jedi doesn't track, and it's like, fuck you, he loses his mind a lot, he's got a lot going on, Luke Skywalker does. And he cuts off Vader's hand, he's in the midst of all that rage, he sees that his father's hand's already missing, he sees what this, in the last movie when he tried to do everything using emotion, he lost his hand too, he's going down the same path. And the Emperor's coming up from behind, and he's like, ha 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 ha, or whatever. Good. And he's just like, No. And he fucking turns that lightsaber off.
No,
He doesn't say no.
Look at the size of these nuts.
I'll never turn to the dark side.
I will say,
I am a Jedi, like my father before me, and he just tosses the lightsaber. Just fucking bring it, big dick. There he is.
Even
Faces
though
him.
I disliked the Rey Palpatine twist, I do think that the Emperor is good in anything he's in, no matter what. That character.
Yeah, I like his
Ian
scenes in Rise of Skywalker, yeah.
McDermott.
Yeah, and in the prequel, I mean...
It's just, he's such a silly character. He's
He's silly.
He's so evil.
Well, he is kind of evil. He's just evil.
It's like, he loves it.
Well, in Return of the Jedi, he really just is. There's nothing
Anti-space
else.
Pope.
He's just this evil emperor that you've heard about, and he's just like... You're
I'm back.
yeah.
Somehow
I'm back.
And when he loses, when he essentially doesn't get Luke Skywalker to go to the dark side, he shocks him. Which follows up with another great scene where
Went spooky Bilbo there.
the titular event takes place, the return of the Jedi, where Anakin snaps back and throws that motherfucker down a ventilation shaft.
What would you say he said while it was happening?
Nothing. He said nothing.
Oh.
He sees what's happening. You don't need Darth Vader to go, no, to understand that he's watching his son get electrocuted.
Chase, I can't read between the lines. I need visual and audio.
You need him to say no, so it hooks up with the end of Revenge of the Sith when he goes, no!
Exactly. How would I have made that connection?
I don't know. They added that
I didn't make that connection.
fix like late in the game. I don't know. Like there were all these other edits to Return of the Jedi, and then
I
one
actually-
day they were like,
I actually
put no
watched a
in.
bunch of Return of the Jedis that I thought were the remastered Return of the Jedi. I was like, that's it. And then one day I just randomly put it on Disney Plus, and I was like, was that always there? I don't remember that
not
being
always, not always.
there. No.
No, stupid. I think he even goes, no,
Yeah.
no. Like he does it a few times, and it's like,
Don't like that.
why? Why can't he just toss him down? We get it, but it doesn't ruin the movie. It's just the thing that they add that it's like.
My favorite thing to think about with the Emperor is that he exists officially in Andor. They mention him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just funny to think that all of this like real gritty spy on the ground stuff is going on. Very realistic, barely any aliens, very focused, and like at the top of it all is an old man who shoots lightning from his fingertips. And he goes,
And apparently also sired a child somehow.
Yeah.
And then who also
Got
then
his dick
also
wet.
sired a child.
got that pop.
Well, no.
That
There is
Palpatine
a
beard.
history behind that. There's a whole story. He didn't actually have sex with anyone.
Wasn't it like a forced impregnation?
No. That's Anakin. That's with Anakin. But Rey's dad is a
He's the worst person in a galaxy. You think he's
Rey's dad
above
is a
Rey?
botched clone. Rey's dad
I'm
is
just
just a
saying.
clone.
That's not the most unrealistic aspect.
No, it's not.
Rey's dad's just a clone that doesn't have the Force. That's why he's a
Okay.
strand cast. He's not a sexual. Like Rey's dad had sex with somebody and then she had.
And
her,
Rey's
but
dad was
Rey's-
Palpatine's clone.
Yes.
Okay.
There you
Wait,
go.
Something
is it
that
a
they
young Palpatine?
Something they should have included in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, would be great. Somehow he
Put it in
returned.
the book. Put it in the book that came out for it, and then in another book that I read that takes place in between Return of the Jedi and. Force
Explain how this suddenly new antagonist / old antagonist from the old movies appeared better than somehow.
And they did. That's what kills me is in this book that came out like around the release of the movie. It's the official book. It explains everything. There are scenes. There are things in this book that we've left Return of the Jedi. We're talking about Rise of Skywalker again. But even when Leia talks to Kylo Ren through the Force when he snaps and goes good again and talks to Han Solo. There's a whole he sees his life. He sees playing with Chewie as a kid and he sees his father and there are things that cause him to snap.
Yeah.
The love he feels from Rey healing him.
Don't need to see it.
But you should have. Yeah.
Don't need to see it.
They
Not important.
cut that out because the book they
Not
have
important
to
to his
give
character at
these
all.
people who write the book the story ahead of time so the book can come out to coincide with the movie. So they had the story. They just didn't put it in the fucking movie. The clone, how Palpatine survived is in that book, but they didn't put it in the movie.
Somehow.
Somehow.
He
What
returned.
was that?
It's too much work to explain.
He could have at least done 2 sentences.
What they could have done is something they do in the movie in Force Awakens and that movie a lot. Real quick flashback scenes. That's all. If you would have just show, don't tell, real quick flashback snippets, it could have said everything. If you see that same scene... Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was gonna say, do they do flashbacks in other parts of the original Star Wars? Are there other flashbacks, or is that a new concept?
I think that was a new concept that they put into like.
Sorry
Force
to
Awakens.
take away your logic.
No,
there.
I just think like that
You're right.
scene when Rey touches the lightsaber in Force Awakens and she has all those flashes and sees like shit through the Force. They could have did something like that with Kylo Ren when Rey starts healing him and he sees like his dad and his mom and Chewie and him being a kid. Something that tells me, oh, this is what's gonna get this guy to go good again, instead of just like, I am good now.
Do you want to know my favorite scene
Any.
from Rise of Skywalker?
Sure.
That scene where Rose, that character's like, sorry guys, I have a lot to take care of here. You guys go on ahead. And she's out of the movie. I did not dislike her character. I actually like that whole storyline in The Last Jedi. But I just thought it was funny because I'm like, wow, that is like so reactionary that they actually took her out of the movie because fans didn't like her. A certain subset of fans didn't like her.
Yeah, that's another.
I have the same problem with her as I have with all the other Star Wars. It's just like, what is the purpose of this character?
But them Disney doing that lost respect from me.
Well,
So I was like, that's a pussy.
there's about 400 reasons Disney can lose
Yeah.
respect for you under
That-
any given circumstance, and they're all justified.
Taking black people off of the poster in China to appease Chinese racists. Two things I hate the
Chinese
most:
people be
racist
dumb.
and Chinese people.
To be fair, that's an Austin Powers joke. Damn.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. I hate that I always tangent back on the sequels and Rise of Skywalker. This was supposed to be about Return of the Jedi, and I made it about somebody else, but...
Got this beautiful bobblehead here.
I
of
know,
your Return
I
of the
know, I
Jedi
know,
fight.
'cause-
I've been staring at it the whole time.
Yeah, he's not even a part of it. I just bought him separate and put him in there.
Good.
Because he belongs in the scene, I mean. I think that's my favorite Star Wars scene of all time, is the Emperor's throne room.
Ooh, all time.
Yeah,
All time.
there's just a lot. We watched it. I watched it high, and it hit me pretty awesomely. Braden and I did mushrooms one time, and we watched it, and it hit me differently. But every time, I'm always like, I love what I'm seeing.
One of the criticisms that I've seen for like why some people don't like Return of the Jedi is for Luke's
they're gay or
characters.
something. No, I'm just
Luke's
kidding.
character change, where he's like emotionless now, and I'm like, he's a Jedi. Like he finished his training. He's a badass now. It's a good change.
I don't even think he's emotionless.
He's not emotionless.
Yeah.
He cuts his own father's arm off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was like one of the critiques that I don't think holds water. But yeah, I thought Luke's character changed, and this was cool. He's finally grown up.
Yeah.
He's got an awesome Jedi fit.
Yeah, he sure does.
All black, baby.
Yeah. He
That's
walks
how
into
you know he
Jabba's house just
graduated.
choking
Yeah.
people.
With his doctorate robes on.
Everyone knows black is the best Jedi color. Everyone looks good in black.
Everyone does look good in black.
You got me questioning what I think the best Star Wars scene ever is.
Ooh, I think that's a good way to kind of...
Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, I'm
Star
going
Wars
through.
Our favorite Star... Maybe, what's your favorite? I mean, I don't know. The best,
Best,
favorite.
okay, favorite, yeah.
That's my favorite, is that. That's why I
Pod
think...
racing, okay.
Pod racing. I mean, besides pod racing.
Yeah, naturally, we can't all have number one.
Because I think I really do love the scene in The Last Jedi. I like the throne scene, like Snoke's scene. Snoke's throne room scene in The Last Jedi. And I think I love that scene so well because it's a remix of Luke's scene. And I love that.
That's fair.
And
It's
they
definitely
fight those fucking
homaging.
guards.
Yeah, it's
and they do it
definitely
really well
homaging.
where everything is dark and black in the Return of the Jedi. Last Jedi, it's red.
Yeah.
And Snoke's in the bright robe, and it's just
I really
it's
did
very
like.
interesting.
This is not my vote for best scene, but I do really like the way they built Snoke up in the first movie. Like they had so much like when you leave the theater, and you're like, what is that? Like that's cool. That's very Star Wars-esque.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if I agree with that how they handled it from there on out, but that build up was really cool.
I didn't like them killing him off in The Last Jedi. I was like, oh wow, that's a bold, holy shit.
Well, that was kind of like what is that trope like is it the red herring or whatever? Where it's like they're like digging into the idea that this is going to be your baddie forever, and then it's just not.
Yeah, puppet. I mean, at the end, it's Palpatine is the puppet master. He made Snoke.
It's Kabuto actually.
He was all as he was making them. Do my bidding.
Zombie ginger. I see you're thinking though. What do you got? Come on.
I don't know.
your
So I
favorite
want to
Star
go
Wars.
immediately. I want to go immediately to Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight in Episode 3. Just the speeches there are beautiful, and the music overlay is wonderful. I also go back to Darth Maul's big fight between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, just because at that time that was so fucking wild. Nobody's like a double-bladed lightsaber like
It's
that.
a dope scene.
And the music's beautiful, and the location that they're in is weird, but
It's probably top 5 for me.
it's so good. I mean, I love when the AT-ATs come out of the fog in Empire Strikes Back. That's fucking cool. Because you have no idea what's coming. They're all, like, preparing for something, and you're like, what is happening? And all of a sudden, these giant fucking dragons come out of the smoke, and you're just like,
Dragons,
holy
wow, yeah.
shit.
Yeah, I
I
would
never
say.
thought about him like that.
Yeah,
but
that's also
Like, that's
my
a
favorites
good
from
one.
Empire, the whole Hoth battle.
When you're doing world building within Jabba's palace, that stuff's so cool because you're seeing so many aliens. Same with the cantina scene in A New Hope. Those are so pivotal scenes. They're just so cool. You're introducing such random bullshit. The final scene in Star Wars where they play the happiest song ever when the Ewoks are all dancing.
They're playing with the decapitated stormtroopers.
I like that scene a lot too. I think that's the because like it
Each of
used to
their
be a
heads
different
is drums.
song before the
Right, but
remaster, but
that song is
that's
so
the song,
good. Its
yeah.
song just hits.
It's happy. It's they
nonstop.
just beat the Empire. Like
I feel like that one pilot that was dancing.
yeah.
With the Ewoks. There's some scenes in Rogue One too that are really up there for
Oh,
me
yeah.
too. I mean, I don't know. It's just hard. That would be a hard question for me to actually like. I'd have to just start
There
doing
are a
pros
lot
and
of good
cons
ones,
lists.
yeah.
The final act of Rogue One is awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's such a good like when they're crawling up that tower trying to just get anything to shoot outside, and then Darth Vader showing up into
Right.
like one
It's
of the
already awesome without that.
right, and then they add like pivotably one of the greatest scenes in my opinion is just that darkness and the lightsaber
Yeah.
just being.
They just go. By the way, here's the fucking coolest thing you've ever
Well,
seen.
it's kind of
in
like
Star
the
Wars.
end of Jedi Fallen Order, where it's like you're like fighting the
You're
Ninth
running from
Sister,
Darth
and
Vader,
all of a
yeah.
sudden it's just like Darth Vader's there. It's like oh, and then you see just pure power. The reason why he is a feared name in all of the galaxy at the time.
Yeah,
There's so many good scenes. I'd never be able to put my finger on one.
yeah. Even like, because I even say that one of my favorite Star Wars scenes or things in general is in the Book of Boba Fett, and it's Grogu and Luke training together, and they're like running, and he's teaching. I just loved it. I cried.
That whole like section.
I
was
teared
really
up.
Good.
They did. I was like, do a flip, and he did a flip, and I was like, yes!
I love-
oh my god! I fucking love this.
I love that the best part in the Book of Boba Fett has nothing to do with Boba Fett or the main storyline at all. It's basically Mandalorian season 2.5.
That is the best. I mean, like I said, the Luke Skywalker stuff is probably to me the best stuff in Boba Fett's show.
I
I thought the first couple episodes were pretty solid.
I really
too,
liked
can
when
say.
they introduced the what was the blue bounty hunter's name in Clone
Cad Bane.
Wars? Cad Bane.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't even like that he was a cool character. It wasn't a lot. It was just like that was one of the first times where I actually saw like a cartoon translate to live screen, and I
It
was
looked
like,
pretty good.
"That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool."
Yeah, it did look
Even if it
really
means
good.
nothing else, that's just a cool concept.
Yeah.
And now they're doing with more like they're going to do with a bunch of characters from Rebels with Ahsoka and all that,
Yeah.
which is cool too.
Yeah.
I mean, Ahsoka herself, right? But like, there was just something about seeing him, and I'm just like, "Oh, you're cool looking, mate."
He is. It sucks that they killed him in that show because he look sick in live action, like ill, like he needed like Pepto Bismol.
Ahsoka does some real cool stuff in Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, I do like her Tales of the Jedi episodes. It's just the last one. I read the book that last episode was based on, and they kind of like condensed the book a lot, and I was like, oh, I don't like this because the book did it way better.
I didn't like the first episode of her.
The bitch hair's like a baby.
Yeah, as a baby.
That was kind of dumb, yeah.
She's
I didn't.
a
Yeah, I have
baby.
no idea, but
She's just a baby on like a planet full of Ahsoka people and whatever they're called.
Torguda.
Yeah.
I did not know the name of that species.
Yeah. There you go.
Shakti.
Shakti. I don't know, gang. We are at an hour and 57 minutes. Almost
Nice.
2 solid hours.
Nice speech. Good talks.
Talked a lot of Star Wars here today.
Sure did.
Anything else? Did you give a favorite scene? You son of a fucking bitch.
Of all time?
Of all time.
You can't take pod racing.
You can't take pod
I think
racing.
pod racing's
Alright,
out.
That's out. That's out the window.
All the
But the-
ones that he listed.
But the casino
No.
scenes from The Last Jedi are all in bounds.
Okay. Good.
Fair
Good to know.
pickings.
That is one of my favorites. It's up there, definitely. I love space gambling.
I can't even tell you what happened in a lot of those scenes. I think I've forgotten a lot
The
of
thing
that.
is, I feel like if people... Here we go again. I feel like people really hate on those scenes, but, like, why? It's just more world, but it's just, like, here's just another fucking thing in Star Wars.
I don't have an opinion.
Yeah,
because I don't
it's a
remember.
weird thing for people to be like, look, the Canto Bite
think
stuff,
it's
and I'm
just
just like,
What's it called?
Canto Bite.
They had a really
I don't
good,
remember.
like, singular storyline of, like, I really liked the concept of The Last Jedi, of it, the whole thing being a race.
Mhm.
Because, like, that's kind of, they're kind of mimicking Empire Strikes Back. Like, when Han and Leia and all of them had to escape from the Empire and were being chased around the galaxy the whole movie, like,
Instead of around the galaxy, it's just in that,
it's like, and it's like, it's the rebels' last hope,
Yeah.
and they had like these certain conditions of like why they couldn't catch up to them and what they had to do, and that was all great. And then the Canto Bite stuff was just kind of like a tangent that probably wasn't needed in the movie to make like kind of a weak point of like, oh yeah, everyone profits off of war, even the rebels do bad things. Like, I feel like there's a better way they could have
Yeah.
I mean,
shown that.
they're kind of doing that with some of the stuff in Andor in a way,
Yeah,
and they're doing it much better.
how the rebels. Yes,
So I don't think that's the point of those scenes, though, because I think the entire point of The Last Jedi is the point that Yoda makes in that movie, is that people learn from their failures, and that's just that whole thing is just Finn and Rose failing.
Yeah, and that's
the whole time.
Failure is the whole theme.
I legitimately don't remember it. Like, I don't remember that scene at all.
But there is a whole like action scene where they release these like alien horses. It's like goes on for a bit too long, and it's like action for action's sake, but it's not very intriguing. It's just them releasing these horses.
Do they like run up to the edge of a cliffside and
Yeah,
then, like
yeah,
not
yeah.
fall off of it? I do briefly
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
the animals.
Like, that's cool. I guess they got those. I'm glad those horses are safe now.
Don't they give like a coin to a kid or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all whatever, but it's like,
And then the kid like
What's the point of the coin?
The kid like force pulls a broom in like
At the
the
end
last
of the
scene,
movie, yeah.
implying like, oh, there's like
That's
still force.
Palpatine's great
Yeah,
grandkid.
there's still Force sensitives out there, implying like, oh, Rey is going to restart the Jedi Order. At least that's what I got from it.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that I always found funny about the ploy to kill off Jedi, like by the Empire in general, or by the Emperor in general, including all the Force-sensitive beings, but like, they can be more to Muggles, you know? Like, whatever the equivalency of a Jedi Muggle is, like, Jedis can be born to Muggle humans.
Yeah.
You can't kill all the Jedi off, there'll always be more.
I guess you just killed the religion, and then like. I
Then they're just creepy kids that make things move with their mind.
If you were a Force sensitive, then that's what the
Yeah.
Inquisitors did. They
They
came
blew
like,
up most of the Kyber. I guess the more reason why like all lightsabers are blue and green now is because the Empire blew up like a lot of the Kyber crystals.
Oh,
I've never heard that either.
Yeah,
That's
anymore
interesting.
though, I think the whole Kyber crystal thing is all based around like who you are as a person.
It used to
Samuel
mean...
Jackson changed the whole lore around that.
He did, but even
Yeah,
George
but
Lucas retconned it into having purpose of color.
Yeah,
like
there is
you could be a
reason
guardian,
behind
you could
it.
be like
Because
a.
Rey's is yellow, for some reason. Yeah, I think she's-
There's a purpose. Well, see again, it's yellow because I'm guessing of her personality now. But before in like episode 1, there was a purpose why you chose a color or had a color. I think, like the reason Samuel L. Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber and told George that the reason that Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber was because of like his attack style and the way he was a Jedi Force user, and like that mattered more. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's still
Odd.
something to that though, because I know that like the reason in canon now is like if they're red is because the crystal bleeds. Like if you are a dark, if you are a
see, I've
dark
never
side
heard that
user,
either. That's when did they introduce that concept? Because originally it was like the idea.
it's more in the new canon.
Is that why his is Samuel Jackson's is purple? Because
he's
he uses the dark side a little bit.
a little.
I mean,
yeah,
that
think there
was
is
the
something
original idea
that.
behind the color.
I
Yeah.
think there is something behind it, but that is like the modern in canon reason why they're red. It's because if you're a dark side user, you make the crystal.
See, and I always thought the story was, or at least it used to be, that they weren't able to find Kyber crystals, so they created synthetic crystals
That's
to
what
be
I
Darstar, which means that they were only red. They could not be another color.
Well, that's not what Disney wants.
Well, I've seen what Disney wants, and I don't agree with it half the time.
I go
Disney
off-
wanted little Leia being outrunning by 35-year-old men.
You think you get your little Leia, huh?
Probably. Probably, very easily. Without much effort.
I don't know, man. I've chased some kids around at school before. They're tougher to catch than you think.
Well, you're trying not to hurt them. You're not just going to mad tackle the kid to the ground. These guys were literally trying to kidnap a girl. You think they would have done anything?
11-year-old now.
Pretty confident I
He's
could
a
catch
stocky 11-year-old.
some people, most people over time. And like, I'm going to catch
You want to go outside and try to catch me?
Yes, let's have a race right now. Well, like,
I just ran this morning.
we'll just like
So let's
do
try and catch each other.
After this, we'll just go out in the
Well,
backyard.
podcast listeners, this just evolved into a game of tag. We're gonna go outside and play tag.
Adult tag.
That just
Weird
sounds like
shit in the yard.
So no, I don't have any final thoughts.
Yeah.
No final thoughts.
I was just gonna say with the lightsaber colors, I go off of the old Republic video game logic where it's like blue lightsabers are good at like physical combat.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
That like that's what was originally established in like Episode 1
Green,
world was
I
that like
think-
you had purposes to have your colors based on what you did as a Jedi.
Yeah.
Like Qui-Gon used green because he was a Guardian, which meant X, and Obi-Wan
Yeah.
was blue because he was a Knight, which meant Y.
And greens are like
I think it's still
better in the
something
Force.
like that, though. We'd have to look into it, but I think there's something to it like that still.
Yeah.
But yeah, Star Wars is awesome.
Star Wars is
I'm
awesome.
so excited that we finally got to do this episode.
It's a good one.
It was a pretty good one. We got all over
I
the
didn't even
place.
realize we had a cameo.
Yeah.
Mace Windu was here.
himself.
Mace Windu here.
Oh,
See
yeah,
that
Mace Windu,
conversation.
Yoda.
Mace Windu.
We're covered. He knows me, man. I love me. I like to be surrounded by the Force. Yeah. So shitters, thank you for coming on. This it's probably the longest one we're gonna put up on Spotify. At 2 hours and 5 minutes, but there might be one part that I cut from this. But other than that, I'm not gonna cut anything.
That part you said you were gonna cut.
No, not even that part. There's a different part. I'll tell you about it after.
Okay.
It's gonna be tough though because
Why?
it was
Tell
in the
me
middle
now.
of us talking.
The
Well, then
shitters can hear.
I'd have to cut this then. Yeah.
Why can't the shitters hear?
I don't want the shitters to hear. I don't want the shitters to hear.
Why?
The part that he cut was
Why'd
he
you fuck up?
kicked a cat. It wasn't good. It was really bad. It made a noise.
It was sad.
It was sad. We
So
cried.
It's
Alright.
fine, Braden. So quit asking. It's
Fine, well, you heard it here
Braden.
first, shitters. One who wants you to know the truth and one who wants to obscure it, but
I'm pretty sure this is the same guy who told you watched all of season 2.
And watched an episode unprompted. Let me add, unprompted.
My man will give you up to the police without even trying.
He does this
Yeah,
a lot.
Chase did
actually.
all of it. Chase literally did it all. Like, all of
He
it.
does this a lot, actually. Hold on, guys. We're not done here yet. There's a podcast.
Unpack this for a
one of our
second.
first episodes, actually, we talk about this, but it's not up, so nobody really knows about this. So we're gonna talk about it tonight. Have you ever seen the movie Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe and?
No, I know what it is.
You know what it is.
Is that where... No, that's Guns Akimbo. I'm thinking of another one. No,
He's
I know.
essentially like a fucking corpse. He's a living corpse. Harry
Okay.
Potter is, and
not like a zombie though. He's
not like a zombie. I'm
He's
not
like a corpse that comes back to life because of this guy's affection for him.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
a love
really-
story.
It's
Yeah.
a wild movie.
Yeah.
Very wild. But like he had come back from Africa. We had watched a bunch of shit that he missed while he was gone, but we hadn't like seen anything together that neither of us. Because like when we first became friends, we went to the movies a fuck ton. A lot of good movies were coming out. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of how we became friends.
Signed to the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, we saw a lot of good movies. So we gotta watch a movie tonight that neither of us have seen. And we were going through all these movies for a while, and like blah 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 blah. It got to Swiss Army Man, and he was like, "Never seen it." I'm like, "I've never seen it either." And this movie's a fucking trip, dude. It is bombastic. This is me the whole movie. What the fuck is going on? Like, can you believe this? What's happening here? I probably said that a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Braden's just sitting next to me the whole movie, like, you know, doing it. And I think we're experiencing.
I'm pretty
this
sure I
movie.
know where this is about
You
to go.
do. We're experiencing this movie together, and we watch it. We talk about it. That's the end. We start this podcast like a month or so later, and we bring it up, and he busts it on the podcast. He's like, "Oh yeah, I had already seen it. I just wanted you to watch it."
And I knew you wouldn't watch it if I told you I already saw it.
Bitch, it was a phenomenal movie, but I thought we were experiencing.
So just never get into a crime with this man. Because if you get caught...
But see, because I lied, you got to see that movie, which you loved.
I mean, it was good.
If I hadn't have lied, you would have never watched that movie.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe.
Don't
yeah.
justify your don't gaslight him.
Lying is okay sometimes, people.
This is the most insane twisted
I think
thing.
for me it was just like I thought we were experiencing something together. Like when we
Right.
saw Spider-Verse.
Right.
That-
No, I
We had actually already seen
understand.
Spider-Verse.
I understand your thought behind it, which is why I lied to you.
I say that's like the day we became friends. Was the day we saw Spider-Verse. Was like the
Yeah.
day that we went from...
That was the first time me seeing Spider-Verse. It was when it first came out in the theater,
Yeah,
so I didn't have much time to see it otherwise.
Did not. Well, whatever. So, yeah, I might cut stuff from time to time, viewers, but it's because it's stuff I don't want you to have to hear. Braden will lie to your fucking face. That's the kind of man he is. You know how much Braden lies? He tells people his name is Brad.
Yeah. And some people call me it.
Some people just know him as that. So is there any bigger lie than lying about who you are? I don't think so. This got off onto a whole thing, and I'm really sorry.
Don't worry, this part will be cut.
No, I'm leaving it. They need to know. Braden?
Chase?
Wiesner? Oh, we'll explain that in a minute.
Thanks,
I would
guys.
say
Thanks, guys.
thank you for joining
Thanks,
us
guys.
on just a great episode.
Yep.
It's a bit all over the place, but I like it.
I mean,
It's our
natural
style.
dialogue usually is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally did this. I'm glad we did it in person instead
Yeah.
of just pulling you up like fucking Zoran on Power Rangers or something.
Totally would have made that my screen for sure.
It just would have made the whole thing harder to do. So I'm glad we just did it like this.
Yeah, man. It's good to be invited. Appreciate everybody's willingness to reschedule.
We'll have to come back and do it again sometime. Maybe when the new Star Wars stuff gets moving or something.
Better be about Star Wars. It's literally the only thing I know about.
Braden, do you want to sing us? Do you want to sing us out?
Time for the ASMR portion of the show.
Tonight, we talked about many things. And tonight, we had many laughs. But tonight is going to be the night that we tell you we love you. Please, good night, and subscribe to our podcast, Nerd Shit in the Dark.
On Spotify right now.
On
Good night,
Spotify right
shitters.
now.